Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
I hear you on the radio.
Well, good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to the Sunday session right here on the Brewing Network. Back and live in the studio, as always, and a great show planned for you today. Happy to be here. We got the great Dr. Scott back in the studio with us.
Yeah, it feels good. Feels like I've been away a long time.
It does, because you weren't with us last week, and then the week before we weren't in the studio.
Yeah.
And
so it feels like quite a bit.
Surprised you found your way here again.
I know.
It's been a long time.
I just followed the beer trail.
And the smell of Shat, the producer.
Yes.
You can always find the house that way. We've got the lovely JP working the chat room for you today.
Hi!
You can join him there by hitting the Chat Now button on the homepage. He'll take your questions for a great Father's Day show we have planned for you. And happy Father's Day, Doc. And also to you folks at home. You're welcome. Doc's a father twice over, at least that he knows about.
That's what I'm claiming.
Could be several others in different dental locations around the world. Nobody really knows.
I've been to many cities.
And then also we've got the great, the only, the homebrew chef, Sean Paxton, with us today.
Howdy.
Who is next year will be able to say Happy Father's Day.
Pretty close.
Unless I get my wish, and there's a little, and we have a baby time in the studio today.
Baby time. We could.
Because Sean has brought his beautiful wife Arlene with him today, and I'm really hoping that a baby pops out of her right in the middle of the show.
Is it that close?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Really?
Give or take.
Doc, what can we do to induce labor?
I say we can induce.
Like some jumping jacks or something, right?
Doctor, we can induce.
Like, I want to be sitting here during the show, and Doc's just minding his own business.
Got something spicy?
And a baby hits him in the back of the head. This comes like shooting out of there.
Like a cannon?
They need a little help.
They do?
Yeah.
So, should we get out, like, the Tabasco sauce?
There we go.
What else can we do to induce
Get an old
labor?
blanket. It's messy.
I think we might still have some bedding from my old roommate.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? We could just go in that room because it's pretty trashed.
And then Doc and Paxton can inspect the placenta right here on the show.
We can make a beer.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Placenta Jello.
Good Lord. So,
I think I'm done. I'm gonna go home.
JP's out of here already.
That's my limit.
Well, it'll be fun. We'll just keep checking in on you, Arlene, throughout the show and see how things are going. I tell you what, if there's any water broken during this show, I'm going to puke all over the place.
I know you would. That's why I think it's really funny. You better get careful what you wish for.
Maybe we should, can we keep a microphone near you, Arlene, so that we can hear anything that happens? It'll... you never know what's gonna...
Well, you know, the baby does have hiccups every once in a while. And
really?
Pretty interesting.
What's the baby's name?
No name. We don't even know the sex.
Good. I'm going to applaud you.
We're doing it the old-fashioned way.
Going I like that. Surprise,
I like that.
And actually, we're just pissing off all the retailers out there because everything's either pink or blue. And
yeah.
It's actually kind of nice. We're not inundated with the same color of everything. And
that's cool.
It's kind of fun.
Well, you know, Justin And Justine, it goes either way if you wanted to pick one early.
I am taking bribes.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Let's see what I can find you around
Doc
here.
goes either way.
Yeah, Doc goes both ways.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, whoa.
Got some new Galeras.
Doc goes both ways.
Oh, yeah.
You heard it right here, folks.
Hey,
Whoa.
Get enough beer in me.
Are you on lunch meat?
I'll try anything. Man.
Once.
I'll try anything 10 times.
We gotta make sure, it's repeatable.
We do have a great Father's Day show planned for you today because Sean Paxton is going to take us on an exclusive tour of the Trappist brewery, Rochefort.
Correct.
Make sure I'm saying it right, Paxton.
It is Rochefort.
Okay, good. Because I've said it wrong in the past. People have criticized me. Like they have nothing else to criticize me about how I pronounce
Just
Rochefort.
one more thing.
Well, you're so perfect, I think. Is
Yeah,
what,
I think that's-
look at it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's actually a really great way to look at it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, a little crack in the armor, that's all.
I might take the bullets out of my revolver if I can look at things that way. That's very nice. 888-401-BEER is our phone number, and the phone's already ringing. So if you have any questions today, or if you want to wish anybody a happy Father's Day, you can do that with us. 888-401-BEER. You can Skype us at Brewing Network, or you can join JP in the chat. We're also not just going to take the Rochefort tour with you, but we're going to talk about how to brew it ourselves. You've got a Rochefort clone.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about that recipe and a couple of different things there. And then we'll go ahead and move on to just brewing Belgians in general.
Totally.
Which both you and Doc, of course, can help us out with.
Yep.
So action-packed, lots of things to get to today, and I'm looking forward to it.
You should take the phone call.
You don't want to use the whole call screening software?
Well, you're not online, douche.
I'm not?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Another flaw.
Okay. I'll just go to the phones then.
It'll be a surprise.
Caller, you're on the air. What's happening?
Yeah, it's Henning.
Henning!
Hey, did you get my email last night?
I did. I was going to get to that announcement in a second. So, Mr. It's kind of a creepy laugh.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody would think I'd go through with it, but I did.
Mr. Henning got his Brewing Network not one, but two tattoos.
He couldn't decide on which logo?
He couldn't decide, so he got them both. He got the regular Brewing Network logo, and he got the brand new BN Army logo.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. Woo! I'm amazed. This blew me away when I got these. Where did you get them tattooed at, brother?
Oh, a guy I know who lives about an hour and a half from here did them for me.
That's not what he was
Not
saying.
what city.
Yeah.
Where on your body?
Yeah, where on your...
Oh, they're on my calves.
So, like one on each calf?
Yeah.
That is so cool, man. You got to go to GABF this year now, you know.
I'm planning on it.
Pictures.
As long as we can keep the money together, I'm going to try.
Well, sell those tattoos on your skin. You can go to the forum right now, and there are pictures of both of them, and Paxton and Doc haven't seen these yet. And, man, you're a man's man, Henning. You really went through with it.
Yeah, I didn't. Everybody, the way everybody's been acting in the forum, it's like nobody. I don't think anybody believed me, but I kept my word on that. So
our number one fan.
That's right. I'll tell you what, Doc. The pressure's on. We're not allowed to go out of business this year.
At least until it heals.
Yeah, because poor Henning's going to have these things forever, man.
Grandpa, tell us again what that means.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, there's this really cool brewing
I
show.
said never ask about that again.
There was this thing called the internet. Well, that's cool, man. Those look great. Henning, you're a dude's dude.
Well,
what does the old lady think?
She's all great about it.
Does she think it makes
She
you...
was supposed to go yesterday and videotape it, but she decided to stay home.
Oh. Does she think it's hot, though? You going to get some action now because you got those?
No, I've got other tattoos, so it's not like it's...
Oh, I see. How many tattoos you got now?
This makes 4.
Okay.
I've got one on each arm, and then...
Maybe I can have one of the graphic artists who does stuff for us sometimes do like a mural of all of our faces, and you could get a sleeve, like a whole sleeve. You know, we'll have Doc's face there. We'll put Paxton with his silly-looking mug on there.
Across his back of his shoulders. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yep. Life size.
Henning, that is awesome, and I'll tell you what, that's great advertising. You can't buy that kind of advertising, man.
Get the low back tramp
I think we should, though. Tramp stamp with Doc's face right on the lower back.
The low back. I'm going to be on the low back.
Chad's chubby
Checking
face
you out.
with the thumbs up. Right there on the lower back.
Hey, thanks, brother. That's really awesome.
You're welcome.
You went through with it. All right. Well, if you go to GABF, I owe you not just a beer, but like a drunken night or something. I got to buy you a lot of beer for that.
Buy him another tattoo.
Buy you another tat. All right, man. Thanks very much. It looks great.
Yep.
Cool, brother.
Talk to you later.
All right. He's not very good at goodbyes. He doesn't like saying goodbye.
All right, well.
Gets lonely. Wow. 2 tattoos.
That's amazing.
Like, first he was just going to do the one. If you haven't listened to our Linda Stark fundraiser series, end of last year, you won't know what we're talking about here. But as part of the donations, Henning was generous enough to say, if we reach our goal on tonight's show, I will get the Brewing Network's logo tattooed. And,
that's right. Let's not forget what that was for.
That's right. And so not only did we reach our goal, but Henning said, yep, I'll stick to my word. And then we came out with our new BN Army logo, and he said, well, I can't just get one.
Yeah.
So he's got them both. You can go to the Brewing Network forum and see pictures of it right now. What thread was it in? Do you remember, JP? It's Beer Radio
it was in
program.
off-topic.
Off-topic stuff on our forum, so you can check it out, man. That's cool. That's cool. It brings me to a couple of points. I kind of had a shitty week, but I want to talk about the things that make the weeks that go shitty really kind of pass by, make me feel good again. It has a lot to do with you guys out there, the BN Army in particular. You guys are awesome. I posted in the forum earlier this week how awesome you guys. I told you I'd tell you why, and I got a couple of reasons to tell you.
I don't even know why.
Let me tell you, one of the things that sucked this week is that my car got broken into. Busted out my side window. I left it at the BART station just overnight. I took BART out to the movie premiere on Wednesday in San Francisco, so I didn't want to drive. I knew I'd be drinking, so I left my truck at the BART overnight. Picked it up the very next day. Window was all shattered out. All that was left was a card from the BART police that they did a report on it. Thanks a lot, ass. Where were you when they were busting the window?
Yeah, don't they have cameras?
Yeah, I don't. So I got to call, see what happens. But the thing that's retarded about this, and maybe sometimes you guys wonder why I go on these rants about how stupid people are, is there's nothing in my car worth taking.
Yeah, you don't leave stuff. Like your laptop sitting on the...
No, I got an AM radio and a Neil Diamond CD sitting on the seat. I mean, I'm talking nothing. It's a 10-year-old S10. Who the hell wants that thing? I was parked next to a Cadillac, for fuck's sake.
Those things have alarms, dude. You don't want to touch those.
Yeah, maybe that was the point. So nothing was taken.
The broken window cost much more than anything you got in the car.
Anything I got in the car. So now, let me tell you the state of my truck. So my front window is all busted up because it has been for a while. I got no rear view mirror. My passenger side mirror's been broken off. And now my driver's side window is broken. Gone.
Nice.
So I don't even know how much it's got. I'm just going to park the thing. I don't know. I'll put plastic on the window and not drive it.
Yeah, duct tape and plastic. That's good.
I can't.
Hey, at least it wasn't in November when it's raining.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. In fact, I got to drive up to Elk Grove tomorrow, which is kind of far from here, meet Jamil, because we're heading to NHC tomorrow.
You're not taking your truck?
I ain't. I got nothing else to drive.
I mean not to NHC.
No, not to NHC. I'm going to drive.
Conditioning, right?
I'm going to drive through the Rockies. With my battered truck.
Oh, look, bugs.
Well, first to the Nevada desert.
Yeah,
and then to the Rockies.
Yeah, it only gets me. Jeez. So, I got that. There's other things in general. So, but listen, I didn't get me down for more than 5 minutes. You guys have been awesome out there. Here's the first thing that you should know. Doesn't affect you guys directly, but I'll tell you it does indirectly. I get an email this week from Draft Magazine. They did our show a couple of weeks ago. And we put up a link on our site that you can get half-off subscriptions to their magazine. So, did you get one, Paxton?
I did.
Well,
$10. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Apparently, so did a lot of other BNers, because the email said, and I have a few details about this that blew my mind. I'll fill you guys in. Email says, hey, Justin, I just wanted to thank you for having us on the show. We broke our single-day record for subscriptions to Draft Magazine.
Whoa.
And then the following day, we broke that record, all because of the link on your site and from doing your show.
Wow.
Now, let me put this into
Army, man.
Let me put this into perspective for you guys. Draft Magazine debuted at the GABF last year with a booth and hot chicks in tight shirts, and they're handing out magazines to everybody.
They couldn't have brought them to the studio?
They didn't do that, unfortunately.
Next time, Doc.
They're still in storage, Doc.
Don't quote me on this, but I think the numbers that went through the GABF that week are right around the 30,000 people area. And that's where they did their debut. And we not only broke their single-day subscription record, but then broke our own record on the following day. That is how active and awesome the BN Army is. So a big round of applause to you guys. Because all that kind of stuff affects us. It shows people that we have a lot of impact out there. And it shows everybody else that you guys are paying attention and that you'll do anything to support us and to get a quality product, too, because we don't, just put stuff up there that's crap. I stand by the magazine myself because I enjoy it. So that was the first thing that happened, with you guys that just blew me away. I'll tell you, I was sitting here when I got the email. It was like 1 a.m, and I wanted to call everybody. I wanted to tell everybody. I was so excited. It felt so good to get that news. I told Biscuit. She was cool with it.
She just dragged her ass on the carpet.
Yeah, she did a little of that. Which that's how you know she's excited about things. Okay, so that's one thing right there I want to tell you. The other thing BN Army did, sold us out of BN Army T-shirts in 2 days.
Wow.
I put up the BN Army shirts. I think I did it on Monday. By Wednesday midday, we were sold out. I think that there's a XXX left or something, although I haven't looked today. That might be gone already. So,
thanks
you guys
for buying that last one too, by the way.
You guys really stepped up, and that helped us out a ton. Also, I'll have more information on that for you in just a little bit.
Yeah, my wife liked the T-shirt, so she got one. She's worn it out twice already.
Are you kidding?
Oh yeah.
Now that says something about how cool the shirt is, because your wife doesn't care about us.
Yeah, she does. She wore it out twice. At first, I was surprised that she wanted one.
Yeah.
But she thought they're really cool logo. I'd explain what the hot bomb was.
Yeah,
She thought that was cool.
Did she get the camo or the black and white?
The camo.
How's she looking? She looks good, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah, I made her get a smaller one.
Attaboy.
Show off her little hop grenade.
Yeah, so then she's worn it out twice.
That is cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I like to hear that, and I do still have some girly shirts. Actually, no, that's not true. I sold out of those too. Sold out of all. So more information on that. All right, the other thing, that this was kind of a personal thing that a few of the BN Army did for me, and it really meant a lot because, I'll just go ahead and say, I don't want to mention their names because they didn't do it for any recognition, but a few of the BN Army guys, it was 5 or 6 guys, and I know who y'all are. I'll be talking to you personally. They wanted to thank me just for what we do here, Doc, and it was just after the anniversary party. They sent me like $140 in a gift certificate to Trader Joe's.
Nice.
And you got to understand. I got to put this into perspective. What this means to me. A, I'm out of sandwiches
and macaroni and cheese.
I'm out. Getting skinny. I think they saw me at the anniversary party. They were like, "Oh man, someone's got to feed this kid."
Either he has worms or he's Ethiopian.
And on top of that, it shows me that people, they really pay attention because that's where I do all my grocery shopping. I get a lot of organic food from there. It's also cheap.
It's very cheap.
High quality
and cheap.
And so they bought me this thing, and I got to tell you, I went right down to Trader Joe's this week. I bought like 2 weeks worth of groceries, so I don't have to eat out and spend money that we don't have around here. And just one of those things that really kind of hit me right in the old gut, right in the heart. And I just kind of, like I said, I want to say thanks because it just goes to show how much support we get out there. And every time things are looking a little rough around here, something like that happens, and it's like, just keep right on going, So I wanted to give just props in general to the BN Army because you guys have been kicking ass lately, as always, and I appreciate it. So there you go. Thank you to everybody. And those were my BN Army kicks ass comments that you've all been waiting for. All right.
Kick ass.
Quick announcements. BN Army shirts, which are sold out, are on order. They will be up for pre-sale tonight. I leave tomorrow, so I have to get it done tonight. You can count on it. I've already got it all set up. I just got to hit the activate button. You will be able to go on there and order your BN Army shirts in every size, 4X through medium. Nobody wears a small, and if you wear more than a 4X, I'm not going to encourage that kind of behavior. So you can
buy 2.
Yeah, buy a couple. So BN Army shirts will be available for pre-sale, and you can go and order them as soon as I get the shirts, which should be by the beginning of July. I'll put them right in the mail, ship them out to you guys. Everybody will be wearing BN Army shirts. So that's your update on that. A lot of people bitching about how they sold out, but I could only order so many at a time, and I ordered some more. So hang in there for that, and you'll get some new shirts. Other announcements. There is no show next week, Doc, because we're at NHC.
Yes, we are.
So I will actually be driving my happy ass back from Denver on Sunday. I won't be here to do a show, and
I'll be home, but hungover.
Yeah, hungover, recovering.
Yeah, I'll just barely be home in time.
Barely staying awake with the kids jumping all over.
Oh,
you.
yeah.
So, no show next week. It's not a big surprise because it's our off week. I said we'd be doing one off week per month, and that's ours. So, no surprise to everybody there.
But we'll see a lot of people at NHC.
Yes, we will. A couple more announcements, and then I'll go to the phones. I think we got Bub on the line waiting there. Mentioned it last week. If you need to give any feedback or complain, you can, of course, go to me, Justin at thebrewingnetwork.com, but you can also go to producer Shat at Chad, C-H-A-D, at thebrewingnetwork.com. He's got his own Brewing Network email. Send him some emails. He's got nothing else to do.
Oh, that's going to be ugly.
Yeah. I think he got a couple already after last week, didn't you, Shat? Yeah, he's got a couple in there. So, Chad, C-H-A-D, at thebrewingnetwork.com. You can get JP at jp@thebrewingnetwork.com if you got any gay jokes or anything like that.
I got my first email the other day.
Did you?
From Fritz, someone or other.
Okay, from Brooklyn. Fritz is a good dude.
Yeah.
Maytag.
You'd be good.
Fritz Maytag. Yeah, he said, hey, thanks for coming over, and I'll give you Lindsay's phone number.
Perfect. I think our last announcement, and I made this one before, I just got to remind you, the Jameel Palmer book is available for pre-sale in our store right now. It's Brewing Classic Styles, and if you buy it for $19.95, you get it personally signed by Jameel Zainasheff. He's going to sign every copy and send it off to you. You cannot get that anywhere else where they're doing pre-sales. It's $19.95, and not only helps out the BN, but of course it helps out Jameel too. He did a lot of work on that book, and it's supposed to be a real good one. So if you pay a little more, I think it's $21.95, you can have him write a personal message to you, like I am nothing compared to you, or whatever the hell you want him to say. I don't know. You can do anything. He's got to say it.
I'm Jameel and you're not.
Yeah. I've told Jameel, I said, listen, I don't care what it is they request. You got to say it. That's what we're charging them for. So you put it down there, and he'll be signing the books for you. You can do that pre-sale now along with the shirts. All right, that's going to do it for announcements. Bub, what's happening, brother?
Hey, did Paxton bring chow?
He did bring chow. He never shows up empty-handed. He knows I'll lock the door.
Always got to bring stuff.
Oh, see, and I was going to buy chow this week.
No, I appreciate that, but he brought food. We get to save you some cash.
All right, game on.
You have a fridge.
I'll buy myself a blow-up doll.
Do that instead. Yeah. He also brought
You're welcome.
Brought like a jar of liquid nitrogen. We're going to be making ice cream later on.
Something I've wanted to do for a long time.
Oh, sweet.
We'll
Sean
do
and I have talked about it, and then we're going to do it.
We're going to do a little segment of it on the air.
Like a stout ice cream or something?
Actually, it's a Bone Framboise ice cream.
Framboise, nice. Very good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since Justin's not the big dessert dude, I figured, get him with a lambic ice cream.
Yeah, you got to. I think Bub just finished, by the way.
I think so, too.
My wife just finished.
Oh, man. Send us a picture of that.
I don't want to see a picture.
Is that why you're on the phone, Bub, so she can have her time alone?
Yeah, actually, she enjoys it when I'm on the phone because she can go and do her thing.
Hey, great.
Hey, happy Father's Day, Bub.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day to you or whatever.
Thank you.
Doc, anyway.
Don't jinx me like that. JP will be pregnant before you know it. So. All right, Boop. Thanks, brother.
All right, bye.
We'll see you. Boop's back in action this week. He wasn't listening last week, Doc.
How come?
I don't know. Maybe because you weren't here.
Yeah.
No, he
must have been.
He was on the road. Let's see. JP's asking me if there's an update on the B3 style kit. Actually, the Brewing Network ingredients kit for B3. No, there's no update.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm working on it. These things take time. Both me and Chris Graham, we have talked about it. He's busy, I'm busy, and he's got to, put it all in the system, get the quantities right, make sure the shipping department knows what the new kit is. There's kind of a whole infrastructure thing that's got to happen, and they're swamped. In fact, the More Beer podcast for this month is going to go up tomorrow, and you'll find out some of the reasons why they're so busy, because there's some cool stuff in there. You can check it out. and then I'll give you guys an update. Maybe when we're back in 2 weeks, I'll have that kit in there. You know about this, Doc? You heard me talk about this?
The kit?
Yeah.
The kit.
The Brewing Network official kit, and it will be, one ingredient kit. This first one is going to be based off a Jameel
that's
recipe.
Not like the kit that Elvis had, right?
No, different.
The kit. Tell Doc to get the kit.
Different kind of kit altogether. Unfortunately, a different kind of kit. So what we're going to do is, put that out there. And then one of us will brew it, either myself or you or Chad or Jameel. We'll have somebody brew it so that we have a version, and everybody at home has their own, and we'll do the tastings and stuff on there. Talk about
what style are we looking at?
I forget. I know what it is, but I still can't remember.
Hoppy, non-hoppy?
It's not a hoppy one. It's an ale, and it's a nice, easy one. But it's got a couple of extra ingredients in there that we think people may or may not have used before. So it's not it's not too basic,
Okay.
But everybody will be able to brew it, so that's a cool.
Are they going to send it in so we can evaluate them side by side?
No. Don't even put that out there. I think that there is a myth about that, but you got to imagine if we sell 100 of these things, which is easy to do with the BN Army. No, we are not tasting 100 of these things.
You won't have to buy beer for a while.
Yeah, that's true. So, no, you will not be sending these in for evaluation. What we will do is, hopefully a couple of us will get to brew it around here, and we'll talk about what we're tasting and different flavors. You can certainly call in and tell us what you taste in yours, and we'll tell you if that's just part of your brewing process or maybe you did something wrong. That's about the best we can do. There's no way we could get through everybody's. Do not send us your kits, please.
Just one.
If you want to send other beer in for evaluation, that works out fine because not everybody does it at once, and that's cool. And you just contact me for an address about that. So I got another phone call already. People calling in. This is Old Man Redhead. Is that who we're talking to here, JP? All right, Old Man Redhead. What's happening, brother?
It's Sully.
Old man Big Head Redhead.
Well, hey.
I just want to let you know that I sent my Rochefort dressing beer into you so you could evaluate it.
Thanks, you did? It's on the porch still. Yeah.
It is. Actually, I'm out here in Lodi, California, drinking the Vine Zins today. And I'm about to get my tattoo of the BN Army on my ass.
Oh, yes. That's going to look horrible, but thank you for getting that for us.
Because I love you.
And happy Father's Day, Sully.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I saw Sully's gift from his kid the other day. It was a very nice picture. The kid's very thin, and Sully looks really fat.
That's his head.
That's how his son...
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say welcome back, because it seems like a million years since you've done a show, which I think was last weekend, actually.
Yeah.
And I just want to make a plug for the 1550 AM show. Please call in. We need you. Please, please, please. I promise we won't hang up on you if you do call.
Yeah, well, Sully won't hang up on you anyway.
Only because he can't.
Sully, I actually did get a couple of emails that folks were out there listening. They just weren't calling, apparently. So.
Okay, well... apparently they're shy.
Although I do have to say this, we're not on for 2 weeks now. Because I'm in Denver for this Saturday, and we would be on at 8 a.m. the following Saturday, so we get preempted. So,
the preemption.
Yeah, so you'll have a chance to do another plug on another show, and
okay.
I'll also put that up in the forum. Thanks, brother.
All right, well, is this the show that Sean Paxton's on?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
He's
How you doing?
Yeah, I love Sean. Sean.
Sully.
Just keep the name alive.
Preach on, brother, but you spell your name wrong, so,
It does.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
You guys
Happy
have
Father's
fun.
Day.
All right, we'll see you.
We're actually pulling into Valley Brew right now, so we'll have a beer in your honor.
Do it. They make good
you.
beer, and producer Shat has got them all lined up to do a show with us.
No, they're good guys out here, and seriously, we were out here driving around, kind of doing an old Vine Zin thing. I've never been out here to Lodi, California, to try wines, and it's just absolutely phenomenal, unbelievable.
All right, well, you enjoy, and
I'll bring some wine back for y'all.
Please do. Shat loves himself a good Zin.
Yeah, we got good Zin, Shat. Just don't throw up.
Thanks, brother.
All right, take care, man.
We'll see you.
Out.
The great Sully hanging out there with us in Lodi, which is not a pleasant place to be, except for the wines, I guess.
You think the Lodi Tourism Council paid him?
Sounded like it.
No, but seriously, we are out here in Lodi, California.
Having a great time.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
all right.
a cool 98 degrees.
Man, do we have a lot to get to today. Let's keep it moving, folks. Keep it moving.
Oh, my God!
You've got mail.
Kick ass. It's time for the feedback portion of the show. I have both good and bad feedback as usual. We haven't heard from Angry Jameel in a while.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
And this, I'm going to go out on a limb right now before I read it to you and say, is probably the angriest and most offensive Angry Jameel's ever been.
Oh.
It almost affected me personally.
Wow.
Almost.
But not.
Wow.
Let me read it to you, and you can be the judge for yourselves. Justin, you roommate beer-stealing, Star Sand brewing, carpet-dumping, beer-freezing, midnight cheese-throwing, no-talent hack. I can't believe that ZZ said, this was for a reference to an email last week, that ZZ said you were behind my genius, as if you really brewed all of my beers. Heck, you couldn't brew a pot of coffee if your life depended on it. I'm the one with the highest rated show on the Brewing Network, and you're the one telling ass jokes on Fridays.
Every other Friday.
Thank you. Keep dreaming. The only decent thing you can make from all grain is a bowl of cereal. As if you could make a decent stout or barley wine. Did you know that you have to age those things, for example, and not drink it the week you brewed it? All of your beer is younger than the children at a Michael Jackson sleepover. Oh, you guys, he's angry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to take a drink here. This is getting me...
I wish I could take a drink.
Well, Klempt. Plus, you have to properly pitch. That means making a starter. We all know that you couldn't culture yeast if you pitched it into your shorts.
Ew.
It's just a matter of following simple directions, but you're probably so illiterate you couldn't even read the hydrometer. And what's with the third Sunday off? Did you suddenly find religion? Did a Catholic priest offer you an altar boy position? Did a Mormon missionary ride his bike into the studio and convince you to choose the right? Did you get sweet-talked into a paradise with 77 virgins? Or did JP finally let you rub his belly?
Yeah.
I know people get busy, but those are people with lives. I mean, come on, man. Also, Mr. Marketing Genius, I've noticed how you run the BN store, and I'd say even the folks at Enron would have fired your dumb accounting practices. There are a ton of people that would love to get a Brewing Network T-shit, and yes, I spelt it that way, but you seem to buy a dozen sizes that a 12-year-old girl would have a hard time fitting in, and no sizes that an average human could wear. You figured out a way to pre-order my book that isn't out until November, but couldn't figure out to do the same with your cotton-blended pieces of crap. Well, isn't he wrong? Because now they will be up there for pre-order.
And they sold out.
How about a pre-order section for home brewers that want to pour money in your direction? That way, you don't have to keep them in stock. You could just send them out once a month if you needed to do a larger order. It's just a matter of finding the right button to click. I know you have issues, but don't worry. If you mess up and don't click the sweet spot on this one, it won't pack up and move to Europe. Ouch. Man, the daggers are being thrown.
I didn't get it.
Anyway, it's that time of day to replace the HEPA filters in my clean room, replace the Star Sand in my unused carboys, and soak my junk in bleach. Signed, Angry Jameel. Yeah, there you go. Am I right? Is that the angriest one we've ever gotten?
I think so.
Yeah, it was pretty...
But you know what? He directed all at you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nice for me.
Yeah, usually he does dole out at least a little.
He spreads it around a little.
Nah, he went right for the jugular. Good Lord. So I thought I'd follow that up with some nice ones that I got, just to make myself feel a little more human. Justin, I hope all's well with you. Just so you know, I think you've done as much for home brewers in the short time that the Brewing Network has been operating as Papazian, Palmer, Daniels, and even the Pope have done. If that's true, by the way, that's not me. It's the guests on this show and maybe Dr. Scott. You always keep the technical information at a level that most of us homebrewers can assimilate and use in our day-to-day brewing. I've listened to all of Jameel's shows and have been entertained as well as greatly informed. I just started listening to the Sunday Show archives and can truly say I've learned as much from the Sunday shows as I have in the Jameel Show, if not more.
Ooh.
Nice.
You know what?
Take that, Angry Jameel.
That quote will be on the next T-shirt.
I think so. No one will buy it, but I'll love it. I'll wear it every day.
Send it to Jameel, one a day for a year.
Says, also, have you thought about doing an Oktoberfest show, actually, from Germany? I can see a visit to Germany being awesome for the BN, but I'm a no-talent hack who doesn't know the first thing about radio, so I may be wrong. If you could get Doc or someone else who could afford to go, it'd be a pretty awesome thing. Says, through my business, I've amassed quite a few frequent flyer miles, and I would like to donate them to get you to Germany.
Ooh.
If you would actually consider doing something for the BN there. Please let me know if you're interested. See, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I mean, these guys offered me flights to Germany and miles. That's a cool thing, so we could do a show. I will tell you I'm looking into that, so I'll let you know. He says, I really just like to help out any way I can. You've helped me out more than you know. My wife has been very sick with a rare disease. It's been a difficult time for me, as she's usually not well enough to even leave our house. I gave up some of my other hobbies, like golf and flying, so that I could spend more time at home with her. I discovered home brewing about a year ago, and it's changed my life. It's given me something to do during her downtimes, and given me something to focus on when things get physically and emotionally challenging. As strange as it seems, the fun and humor in your shows, especially with Doc, have really helped me get through this difficult time. My wife also appreciates that I have an outlet as well, and when things get extremely tough, I don't have to turn very far to find the alcohol. So he says, I'm sure the BN is more a labor of love for you than some great money-making machine, but selfishly, and for all homebrewers, I'd hate to see it go away. If there's anything I can do, just let me know, please. God bless homebrewing and the BN. I'm not going to give out his name. It's kind of a personal email, and I don't want everyone to know all that stuff, but just a real nice one.
That was nice.
You know, and it's just good to be helping out like that. That's a cool thing. I got another cool one here, too. Justin and the BN crew. I started brewing about 10 years ago. Extract, partial boil, and the first 4 or 5 batches all turned out like shit, so I quit. Well, now, 10 years later, the brewing bug hit me again in the fall of 06, so I started getting more information and found out how much great information on brewing was out on the net. I've been working my way through the session archives and the Jameel Show archives. No lunch meat, he says, JP.
What is that? I've noticed that.
And have brewed 6 all-grain batches that have all turned out great. Thanks for the fun and entertaining shows. If it wasn't for the BN, How to Brew by John Palmer, and the More Beer forums, I wouldn't be making such good beer. Thanks for the kick-ass show, and that's Paul in Virginia.
Great.
Nice.
So good feedback this week, huh, guys?
We brought him back.
Yeah, brought him back from the dead, as we call it, when you're not brewing, you know? And just all cool things there, except for Angry Jameel, that I wanted to read to you guys, just to follow up with it. Things, it's been real cool out there with the Army, I'll say it again, and I wanted to share all that with you. So that's your feedback, everybody. All right, so it's time for a break.
Already?
Yeah, I feel out of breath. That was a big mouthful for about a half an hour.
Yeah, and the temperature's getting up pretty big in here, so.
It does get warm fast. When we come back, we're going to dive right into it, and I will have to set up a link for you at the break here so that you guys can follow along. I will be announcing the link on the air, and I will also post it in the chat room. So if you're not in the chat, get in there now. Hit the chat now button. If you're listening at home, you may want to turn this archive off if you're on the road right about now and wait till you get home, because Sean Paxton has put together an entire PDF presentation of our show today.
You betcha.
So as we do the exclusive tour of Rochefort, which, by the way, you don't get, you will not be able to go there and get this tour yourself. It's really a BN exclusive, and Sean Paxton
weaseled his way in there.
Yes, was lucky enough.
Lucky. God smiled.
So he brought it back to us, and we'll tell you more about that. You will be able to follow along during today's show with the PDF. We'll tell you what page we're on, and we'll go through the whole thing and tell you what we're looking at. So all of that and more when we come back, plus telling you how to brew this stuff. So hang in there for our Father's Day extravaganza. We might have a baby during the show, and that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be
cool. And we'll keep talking Belgians with Sean Paxton when we come back. Hang in there, everybody.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Gather round, ye lads and lasses, set ye for a while, and hearken to me mournful tale about the Emerald Isle. Let's all raise our glasses high to friends and family gone, and lift our voices in another Irish drinking song. Consumption took me mother and me father got the pox. Me brother drank the whiskey till he wound up in a box. Me other brother in the troubles met with his demise. Me sister has forever closed her smiling Irish eyes. Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink
fight until the early morning light. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again.
Kenny was killed in Kilkenny, and Clare, she died in Clare. Tip and Tipperary died out in the Derriere. Shannon jumped into the river, Shannon back in June. Ernie fell into the urn, and Tom is in the tomb. Cleanliness is godliness, me Uncle Pat would sing. He broke his neck a slipping on the bar of Irish Bing. O'Grady, he was 80, though his bride was just a pup. He died upon the honeymoon when she got his Irish up.
Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, 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 ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
Joe Murphy fought with Riley near the cliffs of Alderney. He took out his shillelagh and he stabbed him in the spleen. My crazy Uncle Mike thought he was a leprechaun, but in fact he's just a leopard, and his arms and legs are gone. When Timmy Johnson broke his neck, it was a crying shame. He wasn't really Irish, but he went to Notre Dame. McNamara crossed the street and by a bus was hit, but he was just a Scotsman, so nobody gave a shit.
Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Da 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 da.
Drunken Uncle Brendan tried to drive home from the bar. The road rose up to meet him when he fell out of his car. Irony was what befell me great-grand-uncle Sam. He choked upon the very last potato in the land. Connor lived in Ulster Town, he used to smuggle arms, until the British killed him and cut off his lucky charms. And dear old Father Flanagan, who left the Lord's employ, drunk on sacramental wine beneath the altar boy.
Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again.
Someday soon I'll leave this world of pain and toil and sin. The Lord will take me by the hand to join all of me kin. Me only wish is when the Saviour comes for me and you.
He killed the cast of Riverdance and Michael Flatley too. Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again.
Did you know that you can not only order from More Beer online at morebeer.com and receive free shipping on most orders over $59, but you can also shop in person at their 2 retail locations located in Concord and Riverside, California. In fact, the Concord facility has grown to over 15,000 square feet to fit all the new products, expanded showroom, and new Knowledge Center classroom. And now, in conjunction with the Brewing Network, More Beer is making it easier than ever to keep up on what's happening. Download the More Beer monthly podcast by clicking podcast at morebeer.com. You'll learn about More Beer's history, sales and discounts on More Beer products, get to know team members, and hear ways to save you money. They're also launching a brand new website soon with more features and a better online shopping experience. So go to morebeer.com or call 800-600-0033. That's 800-600-0033. Mix me your 100-grain amber recipe, and I'm going to eat it. And then it can ferment in my gut. It totally works. The beer is almost identical to the grain sandwich.
Your colon won't know what hit it.
The home of live beer radio. TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck.
You're listening to The Session.
You're listening to the Brewing Network. Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck. Welcome back to the Father's Day Rochefort Show Extravaganza with the great and only homebrew chef Sean Paxton. Welcome, Sean.
Howdy.
I'm going to hand a lot of this thing right over to you because you got a lot to say and you put together a great presentation.
Why, thank you.
I wish more guests would do this so that I could be even lazier.
Well, Sean, the way to do it.
Sean actually gave this presentation to the Doe's Club.
Okay.
And it was just awesome. Everybody loved it.
They got real excited.
Oh, you could hear a pin drop in there. It was just great.
It really is a cool thing, and what Paxton has done is put together an entire presentation for you to follow along at home. So let me get those links out there and then hand it over to Paxton so that he can really tell you about this whole thing. JP is going to post a link in the chat room right now, and I'll read the link off to you too in case you're not in the chat room. It's homebrewchef.com/beer.html. Now, homebrewchef.com is Paxton's own entire site. You get a lot of recipes, a lot of different things there, so check it out. I encourage you to explore in general. But for our purposes, you can go to homebrewchef.com/beer.html. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, and you'll see a Brewing Network section. And under that section, you can click right on the link, and it'll tell you how to get the PDF of this presentation.
Correct.
So we'll give you a few minutes to do that. And, of course, feel free to look through the PDF. But what we're going to do is go through it page by page with you, and we'll tell you what page number we're on, and everyone can be on the same page with us. So like I said, if you're driving in your car and listen to this, you may want to hold off and listen to the rest when you got a chance to follow along. Or the link is going to stay right there on the Homebrew Chef.
I will leave that on there, so all you podcasters out there can download this and actually do this real time.
Yeah, or whenever you want, because they'll leave it right there.
Exactly.
So check out the whole page. So that's how you get there. homebrewchef.com/beer.html. I encourage you to go there now, get that PDF in front of you to have a look at it, and let Paxton explain to you why this is such an exclusive thing we're doing here. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, just a few minutes. So basically, I was really fortunate and lucky. I was able to get a tour inside Rochefort. As many of you know, there's only 6 Trappist monasteries in Belgium, and I was there in March. And I just got real lucky. And
so you hadn't met him before?
I had not met him.
Okay.
And I had actually talked a little bit to San Hieronymus, author of Brew Like a Monk. We actually did a Trappist swap, so that's actually the beer we're going to be having. It's over a year old.
Cool.
With Babel Belt, and we were using a new product, the rock candy syrup.
Excellent. What is Babel Belt?
The Bulgarian Babel Belt. It's a Belgium kind of distinctive website where it's a lot of chat, a lot of home brewing links on there as well.
Okay.
A great place to post, hey, I'm trying this with the Rose Layer blend. Any suggestions to I'm experiencing this off flavor, or Brewing Belgium's great website, Steve Gale, and he just does an awesome job with just a great group of people.
Okay, so you did a beer exchange through that, is what
yeah, so we actually, there was a new product that Brian Macer brought from Belgium that you can actually buy in the grocery stores of Belgium, that is kind of like the secret ingredient, if you will, for West-Vlaanderen, for Westmalle, and for Achel, that actually makes their beers dark and actually adds a nice flavor. And then they also bring over, it looks like brown sugar, but it's a lot darker, and it's actually not made with molasses, but it's actually made with this dark candy syrup.
Okay.
And mixed with regular sugar. And it is actually the ingredient that Rochefort uses.
Cool.
So we did a swap using those, and there's about 7 of us, and we shipped them all over and sent some to Stan, and got together on a Tuesday night, and it was a good Tuesday night. That's actually had to do it twice because
a rough Wednesday morning, but a good Tuesday night.
Very rough, actually.
Cool.
But there were some great beers, and it's really fun to sit around and drink homebrew from all over, and people put a lot of love and care into their beers, and really very cool. So, and also it's a great learning experience because here was a new product that none of us had really used before.
Okay.
And to come up with some beers and to get some different flavors, and very, very useful, brings a whole new level to brewing.
Awesome.
Great community.
Okay. Now, so tell me just a little more about this briefly. What's the brewer's name at Rochefort that you got to meet?
Gummer Santos.
Okay. And so he let you in, give you this tour. Now, you also sent him this presentation because you didn't want to, since it was an exclusive tour.
Correct.
You didn't want to kind of go ahead and put it all out there without him checking?
Well, I've actually been working on this presentation for about 2 months. I got back middle of March, and I was just so overwhelmed by just his generosity and just appreciation to what they did and what they offered up. And, you know, it's really one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And it was very touching and humbling and enriching and
yeah,
a lot of other adjectives. And what was really cool about it is when I finally came to the point where I was really happy with it, I shared it with them because, one, I wanted to make sure it was correct. Two, I wanted to make sure that the image of the Abbey was intact. I wasn't sharing anything that I shouldn't be sharing, since he did let me know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of I don't know if I can say this. I don't know if I could, really honestly feel good about sharing some of this information if I didn't have his approval. So I sent this to him early last week, heard back from him on Friday morning, and was again very, very humbled. He really wanted to make sure everybody knows that this is not something that you guys can go out there and do.
Yeah, because this is a real abbey. I mean, this isn't just a brewery.
It's a functioning monastery.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yes, and basically, he not only approved it, but he really appreciated the image that I give, because the monks are very sensitive. They're very quiet. They're very much to themselves. They don't like a lot of publicity, and that's kind of why he let me do this.
That is very
to share
cool.
this with all of you.
Awesome. So he was real excited about it too, though. That we kind of get to see it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
He was just an amazing. This really changed how I brew.
Okay. Well, so that's awesome, and we just felt we want to make sure that you guys knew that, because this is a cool thing. I mean, even the great Dr. Scott couldn't go and just go into Rochefort. Unless
I haven't tried yet.
Maybe they need some dental work. You could do a little exchange.
You never know. Those months.
Never know.
Yeah, you could do something
Sweet
like that.
Sweet talk my way in there.
So hopefully all of you have had a little time to get your PDFs in front of you so that you can go on this tour with us, and we can go ahead and start it, because I'd like you to kind of tell us about the history of this place. How many Trappist brewers are there?
So this is one of 6 in Belgium, and then Le Trappe actually came back in, so they're number 7. But
where's that one?
That's Moreland, Holland.
Okay.
Their back door basically goes right into Belgium.
Oh, okay.
So that way they kind of.
All right, so let's go on a tour through Rochefort, one of only 7 Trappist monasteries and brewing Trappist beers on the planet, and not everybody gets to do this. And we thought we're going right in there. It's like Mr. Frog's Magic Land or something, whatever the Disneyland ride is.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Thank you.
I didn't know what that was. I thought it was a motorcycle outside going wah, wah.
Everybody in the studio looked around on that one.
Those are the monks, son.
Yes.
I'll stop touching myself.
All right, so I'm pulling up my PDF here myself so that I can go through with you, and it starts right there with just a picture of the place in the front, which is beautiful. Looks like Doc's house. It's a gorgeous piece of property.
Where's the Hummer in front?
Exactly. So, just real quick, everybody, on the bottom right-hand corner is a number, and I'll kind of pop those out periodically just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Cool.
But yeah, so basically we started out at the front gate there, and just a beautiful abbey. This is just outside of the town Rochefort. It's actually not in Rochefort, but it is now kind of associated with that, since also they have that on the label. But really it's the Abbey St. Remy, so that's kind of the name of the actual abbey.
Okay. Which is spelled different than I spell Abbey, by the way.
Funny how that
Abbey
happens.
Normal.
Yeah.
Good one. So, slide number 2, those are basically all 6 Trappist monasteries. We have West Valerin, Westmalle, Auchel, Rochefort, Orval, and Chimay.
Cool.
Kind of spread out, too.
They are very spread out, and they actually are very much in contact with each other. They meet periodically throughout the year and discuss, what's happening, how sales are,
okay,
the overall support.
And do they discuss, obviously
marketing?
What about just, hey, are you guys going to do anything to your beers this year that we should know about, or have they just always been the same and that's not even a topic?
Well, actually, that's a good question because they really don't change much of their beers.
Okay.
I was really just humbled because, at this particular abbey, they have over 400 years of brewing experience.
Wow.
And we'll get into that a little bit more, but the idea that 400 years of brewing the same beers,
unbelievable,
is really shows, and they want to reproduce that same beer.
Right, all the time, yeah.
For all you listeners out there that might happen to have a Rochefort 10, 8, or 6, I highly recommend you pop one open.
Yes.
Because this is a great way not only to support the Abbey, but also to support your taste buds.
And now they don't, in speaking to the brewers there, they're not doing this for profit. They don't want to sell more beer necessarily, unless that is what they need to do to support the monasteries, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Basically, we'll get into this a little bit more, but when they brew beer, basically all the profit of the beer, which is not a lot because we'll get into how they actually brew it, which is very different than almost any commercial brewery I've ever seen. But basically the money comes back to the brewery to support their efforts, and then any extra profits actually go to the community, and they actually give to a lot of different charities in the Rochefort area.
Oh, great.
And they really give back to the community, and it was really touching because they take a lot of pride in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, very cool.
They should. Okay. All right, so that's a cool map because you really going to get to see the whole thing, and they are pretty spread out. You're right about that, Doc.
And I mean, basically, the idea of going from like West Mall to Rochefort is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you hit some traffic.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea as far as scale.
Yeah.
It's not an overly large country,
nope.
But a little bit smaller, or actually a little bit bigger than Connecticut.
Which is tiny.
That's pretty tiny.
It's weird. There's not a whole lot in central Belgium, and they're all on the border, kind of, except for Rochefort, which is a little farther inland. But
just a town.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
But it's
also
up against the mountains, though.
Very interesting too, because on my website there's some pictures from Orval. We were able to go there, and we went to West Mall, and we went to West Vleteren, and they're all very, very different.
Okay.
This is the only one we actually got inside, but it was. By far, this is one of the most beautiful breweries in Belgium.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
On my list, West Vleteren's great, but this was really an amazing time.
All right. Oh, fantastic.
So our next slide, just talk about briefly the history of Rochefort. So it was basically founded for nuns from the Lord of Rochefort way back in 1230. That's actually how it got its original name, the Abbey of Our Lady of St. Remy. The Cistercian monks took over the abbey in 1464.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they could have started brewing. They might have. There's no recorded history of it.
Okay.
And that leads us to the third bullet point, which is basically they started brewing in historical, fact of 1595. Now, they could have started earlier. They probably did start earlier. And Gummer was very helpful with that point because there's just not a lot of materials from that point that have survived to today. Okay. So that's the best that they can extrapolate to when brewing really fully began.
Okay.
So production-wise. The brewery continued on until World War II, which basically, because of our world wars, damage, copper, all that kind of issues, they had to rebuild. They had some damage done. They had to fix some stuff. And when they did that, they actually had Chimay come in and help out. For kind of a couple different questions or issues. Basically, in 1902, they had they put in some new equipment, but after 50 years, and also thinking back to 1902,
yeah,
electricity was just kind of starting to happen, and there wasn't a lot of cars.
Yeah, exactly.
So things needed to be updated. Jean St. Clark came in from Chimay and actually helped with not only improving the brewing practices, also helped out with microbial testing as well as improved sanitation.
Okay.
So even they had problems back then.
Yeah.
Dirty monks.
Exactly.
Oxymoron, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're all quiet about it.
Yeah. Right.
Currently, right now, there's about 20 monks, and they basically are praying all day and doing their monk duties. And with that, there's also 8 brewery workers.
Is a monk duty different than a regular duty?
I don't know.
I think it smells like
that's a
frankincense
question.
and myrrh.
What if you want to be one of these monks? Are they like only hold 20 and...
That's a good question.
Wait for somebody to kick off and get in there?
Are there monk reserves?
Exclusive
I think
club?
that there is ways that you can apply. Not that necessarily that you'll get in, but
I think he was speaking directly to Doc on that one.
I know when I was there, I was ready to put on a little robe
and go for it. Yeah.
Give me a rope and I'll be happy.
It's got to be very, very peaceful, isn't it? I mean,
it was not only peaceful, but it was really spiritual on a very different level than I expected.
Right.
We kind of met in the front lobby and kind of shook hands, and just a really nice gentleman. And
he's not a monk.
He's not a monk. No.
Oh, he's not?
He is not a monk.
Interesting.
He is actually the head brewing engineer.
I see.
So he's not even like a brewer. Well, he does brew, but
the monks brew mostly, right?
No, actually, it's workers now.
No kidding. So they just sort
very
of own
few
it.
places. So West Veteran, there still is monks making that beer currently. That is scheduled to change.
I think they're farming some of it out.
Now, why have they changed that? Because I thought that was part of the lifestyle too, a way to meditate. I don't know. I just thought it was a whole part of it.
Well, it is. You have to remember too that the whole purpose of making beer is not necessarily to make beer. It's to bring them closer to God.
Yeah.
And really, it is a religious, institution, if you will. They are there to serve God, and by making beer is a way to support the Abbey.
Yeah.
And to make enough money to do what they do. Instead of having actual services with communion and, tithes and all that other stuff, and they give you beer.
Right.
You have to pay for it, but that money goes back to support the Abbey.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
And
but your wife Arlene pointed out before the show that we all look for God like every night at the bottom of our pint glasses.
We do.
We're not so different.
So the monks know something.
We're just a lot less peaceful.
I tell you.
Hey guys, it's Justin. You owe me for a new window.
Okay, so our next slide. Basically,
slide 4 now.
This starts to bring you inside.
Well, wait. If I can go back, why don't the monks brew? I didn't get.
Well, part of it is because it starts to actually take out of their daily time for prayer and silence. And as production keeps increasing, so now West Mall also does not produce their own beer. They've also farmed it out, same as Chimay. They do that for a couple different reasons. One, even like they bottle off-site on Chimay because the whole issue of noise and just trucks and distribution and it was very, very quiet at this brewery when we were there, and I can see why.
Is that intimidating? Did you feel like you had to be, you couldn't even ask questions very loud?
Not necessarily, but yet there is a huge, like, almost blanket of respect that just, all of a sudden it's just in your face.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're in church, it's kind of like you're humbled.
And you have to restrain your enthusiasm, probably, I would imagine. You can't go, oh, look at that thing.
Holy shit, that thing's a big fermenter.
Effing Christ.
You can't run naked up and down the hall.
It's trickery. To be honest, it was really inspiring.
Yeah.
It was a very different kind of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We've all been to breweries. We've all visited our local home brew shop and seen our home brew setups and everything else. But
nothing holy about that.
I've seen yours.
Mine's got some holes in it.
Holy crap.
So looking at the slides here, so basically the left picture kind of just shows a little bit of just all the ivy and stuff that grows up in more the late spring. It was rather cold the day we were there, and we had just finished. They just finished brewing when we got there, and they were brewing Rochefort 8. And so basically, as you look on the right slide, you see almost like a little wooden cart, and that actually was where they put the grain for their cows that actually they used to feed their cows for the cheese.
Okay.
And that's basically right where the brewery is. And as we go to the next slide, slide number 5, currently they produce 3 different beers. They used to make a special monk beer, but they actually stopped that back in 1973. The beers that they had were substantial, and they took up most of their brewing time, and so they didn't really do much else.
Was the monk beer, was it called that because it was for the monks during fasting?
It was for the monks.
And things?
Most abbeys actually have a special beer for the monks. When we were at Orval, you could only get that beer at Orval. It is a lower gravity beer, so it's only like about a 4% versus a 6% that Orval normally is at, and it's a tasty beer.
Okay.
Chimay has a Doré. Westmalle used to have one. I think they still produce one. I've never had it, but I've heard about it. So,
okay.
So basically, the Rochefort 6 is their lowest, not only production, but also lowest gravity beer. The reason why they have the numbers is back around 1940s, Germany actually had a little bit of control over Belgium, and they actually made them use a number to signify the beer. That doesn't necessarily relate to the alcohol strength.
Okay.
So the red cap, which is the Chimay 6, the Rochefort 6, that's about 5% of their production, which is only really about 2 or 3 batches a year.
Wow.
So you don't see a whole lot of that. Merchant of Vin actually just started to bring that back in. So you can actually find that periodically.
Okay. It's a rare one, though.
But it's not out there as much. All the beers use the same ingredients, but it's basically different percentages.
Okay.
So this one starts out about 1072, about 7.8%, so you could work it out backwards to figure out the attenuation on that.
Doc, if their lowest gravity is 1072, that's pretty awesome.
I like that.
Yeah.
Start to see God.
Yeah, that's right.
So color is actually pretty light on this one too. It's only 20, and then IBUs is actually very light at only 18.
Yeah.
So you think about it, 1072 beer, 1080-ish is a Pliny, and that's over 100 IBUs, and this is only at 18.
Yeah.
So just to give you guys a perspective on this, you can barely taste the hops.
I'll tell you though, when you drink these beers, whether you're a hophead or not, the last thing on your mind is, you know what, that beer needs some more bitterness. You don't think that. So
No.
even at a really low IBU like that of 18, it is not something that you feel like it's missing at all.
It's balance. That's all that prayer.
Yeah.
It's all that quality time.
JP, we're doing something wrong, man.
We are. I've got a pertinent question.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be drinking one right now?
I know. I was just. Where's Chad?
I think that's where Chad went.
Let's. Did he go to
I
pour
don't think
for us?
that's where Chad went.
I think they're all sitting in front of us, aren't they?
They are. Well, let's start with the 8.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
You know what, Chad? I think that's why we do lunch meat every other Friday. We would pray on that second Friday.
That's why lunch meat is so good on the days
right.
we do it. While you're pouring those, I got a question for you that came through from the chat room. I don't know if you'll know it precisely, but they want to know how much have the recipes changed over the years that they've been doing this?
Well, they have changed a little bit because back in 1953 they started making the Rochefort 6. They've just changed it just a tad. But for the most part, they've really kept the time-honored tradition of making the beer and try to make it as best as they can.
Now, they have to deal, just like with other breweries, they have to deal with crops and ingredients changing from year to year.
Correct.
Is it something they concern themselves with because they want each batch to taste the same, or do they just want the same ingredients and however it comes out is okay?
They do actually spend a lot of time making sure that the quality of the grain and the overall alcohol is all the same.
Okay.
This is very important to them because it's all about quality. They do sensory analysis every week. Mm-hmm. So we're actually drinking, I brought this back, this is about 4 years ago when I was in Belgium.
This is the 6.
This is the 8.
This is the 8, okay.
I didn't bring any 6.
Okay, gotcha.
I can actually find it.
And the 8, it says here on the slide, is 60% of their production.
So this is about 60% of their production, which is most of it. It does have a green cap. It is a little bit higher at 1078. And actually the alcohol is a lot higher, so it's a little bit more attenuated at 9.2%.
Yeah, and you can taste it on this one.
You can.
That alcohol, you can. It's right in the nose too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you get that sweetness comes
that
through.
Sweet brandy kind of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, it's got a nice malt backbone to. It's a sipper either way, but it has a nice malt backbone.
It's not the sugar.
Was that your 5-month-old one?
No, this is
4 years.
about 7 years old.
7
Okay,
years.
I've got a newer one that we're gonna bust open in just a minute.
Oh,
just,
cool.
Just
Yeah,
to
it's
see
just
the
a
difference.
comparison.
Oh, that'd be great.
So chug
Because
it.
actually, with all these beers, I mean, especially not only being Trappist, but also the fact that they are higher in alcohol, these are wonderful beers to cellar.
Okay.
Getting into the Rochefort 10, the Blue Cap, about 35% of their production. It is about 10.96 for an OG. About
do we have one of those
11.3.
here?
Oh, yes.
We got a lot of those.
Oh, man.
And not only did we bring that, but also I brought back one that was hand given to me by Gummer. And
We're all going to see God tonight.
oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
I know you got a lot to do tonight, Justin, and you're not going to get a lot done. And what's great, too, is if you think about a beer that's 11.3% alcohol, it only has 27 IBUs.
Okay.
So that's really low.
It is
Just tipping the scale.
Yeah.
So slide number 6, basically you walk around the corner and there is the brewery. When you first walk in, you happen to see a nice little stained glass.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see turned around, there is wonderful St. Arnold. You see him almost everywhere in Belgium.
He kind of looks like he's giving me the finger.
Yeah, and you like that little rake in there?
Yeah.
So
He is
there-
giving you
that's
the
the brewing
Angry
rake.
Jamil right
Yeah. There's the Pope.
That's going to be Photoshop.
Right. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
So this kind of starts into the actual brewery. The next slide, the top left slide basically shows the different glassware. As you know, most Belgian beers, they like to have it in the right beer in the right glass.
Mm-hmm.
The center glass there is the old style that they used to use.
Nice.
And then they actually upgraded to the one on the left, and they didn't like that one as much, though. So there's a few of those around, and I actually have a couple of those. And then they switched to the one on the right, which is more traditional to the original,
Mhm.
and they put a nice little gold rim on it.
Nice. Not a whole lot of change either way.
job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time I'd caught here.
You know what's great
You're
about
cut
this show to save face for you is that the monks don't have internet, right?
Actually, they do.
Oh,
and
no.
not
Can't
only
talk
do they, it was a real trip because they actually go to rate beer quite a bit.
Oh, they do.
They are always looking to see how their beers are doing out there
No
in the
kidding.
real world. And it was very fascinating because we were all just kind of like, you go to rate beer?
It's in our favorites. It's in my favorite menu. That's great.
Right by how to pray more often.
Okay, well, we'll have you know that all of the holy shit talk was us and not Paxton. So invite him back.
Oh.
What do you guys taste in this beer? Are we going to talk about this 7-year-old Rochefort? And God spake unto thee, thine shall brew thine own beer.
I get heaven.
And not give the Americans a whole
I get
shitload.
dates and prunes and
A little fig.
yeah.
There's almost no body.
You're a fake.
Well, it has aged, and considering though there is a nice sweetness finish to it, considering the age, so it's not bone dry, but it is dry.
So as soon as you guys finish that, I'll pop open the newer one. It's like a year old.
Okay.
And-
Because it
and,
does have some cellar qualities, doesn't it?
It's got
some basement type
well,
of...
it's got kind of
Brandy.
kind of port almost.
Yeah, port.
Which probably isn't there on a younger one.
No, and actually it was a real trip to actually try these beers fresh that were like basically about 2 to 3 months old. It was almost an epiphany because they were just such a different beer. Because you think about
better.
By the time we actually, well, I wouldn't say better. I would say very different. Because by the time they've traveled across Belgium to the port
And they've
then
been beat
onto a freight car, and then it's been shipped. And by the time it gets to New York, and then freight carted over wherever, and by the time we get here on the West Coast, I mean, you're looking at least a year old.
Yeah.
And what was a trip was that the flavors, how they meld over that period of a year, and just the transportation and everything else, where trying it there, it was very linear as far as each different flavor. You could taste it really distinctly, and it kind of rolled over your tongue in a kind of a succession of flavors.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fig, a lot of date, hint of vanilla, almost a little like honeyish sweetness. I gotta drink this.
Yeah, you do. You're slowing down.
I don't want to speed through it. Actually,
we got a lot.
It's just so good, though. You got to enjoy it, and these people put a little bit of God into it. You got to enjoy
that.
that.
Really think about it.
Absolutely.
So actually, that's
I'll get there.
Great way to kind of go into the whole ingredients. So basically, they don't use a whole lot of ingredients. This I found very not only interesting but also inspiring, because there's a whole kind of conversation about brewing, and with complexity or simplicity, and basically what they're doing is that they're using a really high quality Pilsner malt. That is their base malt. They use that in all 3 of their beers. Next, they use a medium caramel malt. That's all I'm going to say.
Is that a secret thing, you mean?
It's not necessarily secret, but you have to kind of experiment a little with that.
Of how to give away everything. Okay.
They were very forthgiving with a lot of information, and I only want to say so much.
Well, that's all right then. When you say we have to experiment to get our own medium caramel malt, what does that mean? What kind of characters are we looking for?
Well, you are wanting to get a little bit of color, and you are wanting to get a little bit of that sweetness. Because if you think about it, it's not just your saccharification temperature, but it's also going to be affected by that base malt with that caramel malt and how that's going to play off the sugar.
And you should really try to be getting a Belgian caramel malt instead of a English
Bing!
one.
Okay. And what are some examples, like for me, if I were going to the homebrew shop, what are different examples of caramel malts?
Well, there is Dingerman, there is Castle, which I'm a huge fan of Castle.
Oh, those are brands,
Those
right?
are brands.
What are they called? Is it just like caramel and then a number? Oh, Caramunic, okay.
There's Caramunic, there's Cara Vienna.
Okay.
And they do actually use like a 40L, 60L, 120L crystal as well.
So you figure out what medium is.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You got to do the experiment. Now,
also your percentage.
So would we blend maybe a couple of different lava bonds to get a medium one?
They only use one.
They only use
now,
one, okay.
When we get into how I brewed my clone, I used a lot of stuff.
Cool, okay.
And I did that for different reasons. So
cool.
And then what they also use, so they used to use, talking about tradition and how they've kept the recipe pretty close, they used to use cornstarch.
Interesting.
And they used to use about 5% in their grist. But the problem is that as things have become genetically engineered, they could not keep sure that was still, pure corn, and they like to use as organic cornstarch as they can. So they started to switch over to wheat starch. And they use about 5% in there. And I was really always like, why would that be in there? Is it head retention? Is it extra body? Is it that lasting finish? Is there something like, why would they put that in there?
Okay.
Any ideas?
I don't know.
Anybody? JP?
Chip?
More alcohol, but less body. Right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but we're all way off.
Really?
And this is, again, where you got to rethink 400 years of brewing. Monks didn't used to eat any meat. They didn't eat fish. They didn't eat chicken. They didn't eat eggs. There was no protein in their diet.
I see. Okay.
Cut it. I see that question.
So
they actually modified their beer recipe to allow protein, and they actually had a beer a day.
Gotcha.
To have their protein.
See, that's awesome, because we are a bunch of sissies and we take these multivitamins. We should have been brewing multivitamin beer,
Vitamin B12?
Yeah, a little bit of everything in there. Oh, okay.
So I thought that was really fascinating, because they actually designed the beer not only just how it tastes, but also to get protein.
Cool. Okay.
Then we go into the dark soft sugar, which is a product that Brian Macer carries from Dark Candy Sugar. They actually have it more beer in some of your local homebrew shops.
Yep.
I highly recommend you use that. It does give a wonderful flavor.
Okay.
They use between that and dextrose, and that becomes about 20% combined total, and that's basically what gives the beer the dryness, some of the color, some of the flavors, especially as it ferments out.
And what are forms of dextrose for us? Do we just go and ask for dextrose?
You can ask for dextrose.
Okay.
You can also ask for, just table sugar, sucrose.
Cool. Okay.
Corn sugar.
Go back to the sugar show.
Yep.
That was a good show.
Sure.
Do that.
They use 2 different hops. One is the Belgium hop. If you think about the classic Belgium hop, you're thinking it, and I would suggest you try that one. Then they also use a German noble hop that's also used in a lot of Belgian beers.
Well, there's only 5 of those. You can say that one, can't you?
You can. If you were to say it, I might nod.
I bet it's Hollow Tower.
That could be it.
Yeah, that's my guess.
That wasn't a very confirming nod.
I would think that you would try that. I think it'd be very good.
Okay.
It's Chinook, isn't it?
Fair.
Yeah. It's those new summits.
Yeah.
18% alpha. So going on to the next slide number 8. Basically, we're walking into the brewery, and you kind of...
you know what? I'm going to hold you up right there.
Okay.
Since we've gone through the ingredients and a lot of the history here, before we actually do the brew tour, let's take a break, because I'm sure people have to pee out there. We've been going for about 45 minutes now.
Already?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's fine. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get through the rest of the tour, and you can enjoy yourself a beer there. And... because we got a lot to get to, and I want to make sure that everybody urinates properly, or you'll get kidney infections and all that sort of thing. It's my job to look out for you with these things.
Don't want your back teeth floating.
Notice how different this beer is fresh?
Yes, it is. It's quite a bit different fresh.
I haven't even gotten to it yet, so I'm going to do that. The rest of you, hang in there, because we've got more. We're going to finish our tour, and then later in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about how to brew these things, and we're going to talk about Paxton's clone in particular. So we'll be right back. Hang in there.
Sunday night, 5 o'clock rolls around. What's that sound? The voice of the brewing underground. I rush home. What's with the Abacast stream? Goddamn, it's almost time. Why don't you work? Fucking thing, it's 5:02. I reboot. Asshat iTunes. I hope Justin made the free FM commute. I'm on. Thank God, not a moment too soon. Holy shit, I just got booted out of the chat room. I won't back, motherfucker, when you do your risking. O2, I'll hail the Pope. Jay-Z, do like I told you. Do what he say. Well, okay, at least mostly. And hit that fucking whirlpool Viagra roast. Sometimes I don't, and I won't bitch more than a little bitch. Bye, I love that sweet shit that likes like that aerobic. Damn, my East will not prove and fucking booze being rude. Boom, there goes the blow off dude, and fuck this whole chat room. I want out, Justin Chef, there goes my chocolate stout. And I never want to hear the word run high, skip about. I give up, 50G, why don't you push eject me? I'm screaming Gucci when D pushes me off the screen. Jamil, JP, Johnny G, I can't think, but then I hear Doc's little voice in my ear screaming, drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink. The BN, got me going for a silver or gold. The BN, but do I bitch warm or cold? The BN, crew, get unread fine. The Brewing Network, I've saved 5 gallons at a time. The BN, got me going for a silver or gold. The BN, you don't know the bitch warm or cold. The BN, crew, get unread fine. The Brewing Network, I've saved 5 gallons at a time. I need some TBS Bach. What a shock, there's always holding this stock. Tick-tock, the visa's unlocked, Sean. Knock, knock, doc. Can you walk the walk? Pull out an airlock. A cock in his world flock. There's no my box. Into the mask goes a blood crack like a true breeder. It's type of pale ale, my man, Boogita. Flew for you beer nerds, that's Travis you just heard. The only man I know whose name is a cuss word. Come hang with Jays, I'm a Justin Haggerty. And no one understands a word Daniela says. Either Biscuit the Pit Bull or Code Right Info will sniff your crack. If you got the Jane hat, dude, line Excel, where's my hat? Go 10-pound Matt Bet, trans and a low fat. And lunch meet some grab ass. And what about Cross Rock? He's more than just down the block. And then there's homegrown hops, he's missing just like us. Yo, I don't know, I can't see, but then I hear Doc's little voice in my ear screaming, who's gonna be out in the desert with me? The BN, got me going for a silver or gold. The BN, but do I bitch warm or cold? The BN, crew, get unread fine. The Brewing Network, I've saved 5 gallons at a time. The BN, got me going for a silver or gold. The BN, you don't know the bitch warm or cold. The BN, crew, get unread fine. The Brewing Network, I've saved 5 gallons at a time. Drunk of the year, Mad Tag, Jennings a train wreck. You wrote another hook to the song, hell yeah. What about a shun beneath scene? Come black, don't file me. I'm talking about the way your funk makes me call thee white bro. Come on, Chris, go ahead and shimmy your vibe on the sweet little hose. That's a big fat redhead. It must be Sean O'Fett, or it could be Roger's ass smacked. I'ma hit that. This bitch, a flying donkey fist, calling K's the shit. Downtown Met Scientist, Drizzle Bizzle, my man Chris Graham next to Morgan. I hope he'll proves to be hot damn. Sean Paxton and Gordon Commandant. I'm taller than you both lying down. Just don't stand down. We go. Please don't cry, although we're gonna rock the fucking roof right off this bistro. BN. Be going for a silver or gold. The BN. But do my bitch warm or cold. The BN. Crew, get unrefined. The Brewing Network. I stay 5 gallons at a time. The BN. Be going for a silver or gold. The BN. You don't know the bitch warm or cold. The BN. Crew, get unrefined. The Brewing Network. I stay 5 gallons at a time. Drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker.
I could have mixed it with chocolate and vagina. It still wouldn't have helped.
Drink!
All right. Brewing classic styles, take 1. So we got to do this commercial for the BN.
Okay. What do you want to do?
I don't know. It's for Jamil's new book. Are you going to get it?
Of course.
Are you going to pay money?
I think we get that stuff for free, don't we?
I haven't got anything for free yet, have you?
No.
Got a free kick in the butt.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound like an episode of The Butchers.
Why haven't we done one of those Butchers lately?
No one likes them.
Oh. There's good reason nobody likes those either.
What's that? Because I'm short and insecure and you're fat and smell like ass?
Oh, man, that hurts.
All right, should we roll tape?
All right, let's go.
This fall, the most anticipated book in home brewing will be available from just one place.
No, you can get it in a lot of places.
Well, the most anticipated book in home brewing will be available for pre-order from only one place.
That's not true either.
All right, smarty pants, but only one place will have it signed.
Oh, that's cool.
TheBrewingNetwork.com offers Brewing Classic Styles by Jamil Zainashev, the most awarded homebrewer in history, and homebrewing expert John Palmer. Available now for pre-order from the Brewing Network store, signed by Jamil himself.
It's every BJCP style. Every recipe is extract and all grain. Every single one has won awards. Every style has some tips on how you brew the beer, what to focus on, what the key parts are of brewing an excellent version of the style.
Available this fall, Brewing Classic Styles. Pre-order your copy today. Visit thebrewingnetwork.com for more details.
Live Beer Radio. The Brewing Network.
The Brewcasters.
If you're just starting, don't be discouraged by all this stuff. It's so easy.
Just throw it together.
Put some sugar and some water and some yeast in there.
Yeah.
Network.
The Brewing Network. Saving your life.
One beer at a time.
All right, boys and girls, we're back on this Father's Day, the Rochefort Show with Sean Paxton. I gotta stand up for a little while because my ass is starting to smell in my leather seat over here, Doc. Can you get it over there? You getting my ass whiff?
I just heard when you got up, it started to go.
Oh, good Lord.
What, did his ass or
Yeah, coming off that vinyl. Oh, yeah.
Could have been the baby coming out. How we doing over there, Arlene? No baby yet? Still hanging in there?
Should we knock a little bit? Hello?
Little bastard's hanging on for dear life.
I think he wants a beer.
Does that help induce labor, Doc? Beer?
No, actually, it puts it back the other way.
It's not done cooking yet. Give it another couple weeks.
Doc knows because he has family photos when his mom's pregnant with like 12 packs of natural light all over
Oh,
them.
yeah, the long necks and the cigarettes on the coffee table.
I love that story. It's my favorite one.
Clumpy.
All right, well, we do have to get back to the show here because we're about to go on the actual brewery tour. If you haven't gotten to your slides yet, it's homebrewchef.com/beer.html, and we're following along with the full slideshow presentation of the place.
Take us there, Chef.
Yeah, where are we?
So we're at slide number 8, and basically there's some stairs, and you kind of actually walk by their lab. And as you walk up the stairs, you start to see the stained glass. This is one of the breweries that actually spends a lot of time cleaning, and they actually take a lot of pride in their cleaning.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think you learned. So this is a brewery. What's amazing is that this place was immaculate. It was absolutely pristine. You walked in there, and it was just like your jaw was just on the floor. So
looks
getting
brand new.
Oh, and this is over 50 years old.
Yeah, that copper's super shiny.
It looks amazing. Wow.
And what was also really amazing was that they had just finished brewing, like 15 minutes before we got here.
Oh, no kidding.
So to give you an idea how clean that is.
And for a place that doesn't give tour, I mean, some breweries, they keep it clean, like Anchor is really clean.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much that is for the people who come through,
they got a lot of copper in Anchor.
But Fritz is a real clean freak.
Yeah.
He actually hates it when they do the Anchor dinner because people are walking around. He hates that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for a place that no outsider really sees, that's amazingly clean.
Yeah, Sully's is about that clean, right?
Yeah. Thanks
and that big, right? So basically, there are 3 pots that we're looking at. The first one that's closest to us, believe it or not, they don't even use it. They're not using that pot at all.
It just sits there?
It just sits there and it looks pretty.
Because they must have used it at one point.
No.
It's just in case.
It's in case.
For like double batches or something?
If they ever have to increase production, it is there on a whim.
It's pretty prepared, really.
Big time.
Yeah.
So the second pot in the middle there, you can kind of see the grain where it comes down that little chute, and you can actually see like the little, what do you call that? The little glass window there, and that's actually where the sight glass, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
The water and the malt mix there, and that's actually where they mash, and then they rack it up with all the grain and everything to the top one.
Yeah.
Where that's their lauter ton, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Doc, maybe you should keep a girlfriend around just in case. You never know when things are going to happen. If they can keep a kettle, like just in
spying on me or something
happens, you can have a girlfriend.
You follow me around?
I think Doc's next girlfriend hasn't graduated high school yet.
Yeah. I can't get a divorce yet. She's not out of high school.
Sorry, I get sidetracked easy.
I can tell, and even with that monk chanting in the background.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me. I've got the devil in my ears.
And then basically after they've lathered, they go back to the center pot that has actually been rinsed. So go back to slide number 9.
Okay.
We're looking at it from a different angle, and you can just see how just beautifully clean this brewery is.
Wow.
Brew days are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's all they brew. They actually start brewing, believe it or not, at 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
They are done about 1:30. And
it's like 4 hours of brewing.
I go to bed at 3:30 in the morning.
What's amazing too is that when we got there, the whole place just smelled of figs. I mean, it was just beautiful.
Really,
the aroma in itself was just like, okay, yeah, there was a little hop aroma in the air, but most of it was just malt and sugar and just yummy goodness.
Man, how do they not just drink all day?
Oh, seriously. Well, I think that's why they brew so early.
Yeah. See,
it's time for my beer.
Exactly.
Batch sizes for the 6 and the 8 is about 100 hectoliters, which is about 85 barrels.
Okay.
When they do the 10, though, they get a lower extraction rate, and that's only about 75 barrels because of boil over and stuff. Slide number 10 kind of shows the whole mashing process, and off to the right, that's actually Gummer Santos.
Okay.
Again, you can just see just how beautiful this brewery is and how much pride these guys take in it. Like I said, the grain comes down into the sight glass there, and you can kind of see it, and you can actually smell a little bit of it in there. And it goes right into the pot, and they actually do a step infusion. If you go to the next slide number 11, this brewery is not automated by any means. There are no computers except in the labs for sensory analysis and tracking information. They are very precise about how they do things with this control panel. That's basically what we're looking at there on the left.
1950s.
Yeah.
It is a push on and push off. They look at their watches. They look at temperatures. They are really into how everything works. And if you notice, there are some labels, but you can tell that they've been using that stuff for quite a while.
Yeah, you really can.
Off to the right, you can see there's different temperature gauges, and there's actually even like a sample thief kind of in the middle there.
So is that what that is?
Yeah, that's actually where they will...
Not the trough.
What's the trough?
Not the trough. That's where they're actually recirculating.
Anchor has one of those, too.
Exactly.
That's 2 slides ahead. That's on 9, too, right?
Exactly.
And you get a close-up of it on 9.
And if we were there maybe an hour, actually probably 2 hours beforehand, we actually would have probably seen that in use. I actually got into... the Delirium Tremens brewery, and they were using it at the time. So that's something up and coming on the site. So, but very cool.
So it works like a grant?
Very much a grant. So basically just to make crystal clear wort, kind of like how we do the
recirc.
Recirc, yeah.
And,
so basically we want it crystal clear, and they're actually able to do that. So what happens is in slide number 12, the mash, this is inside their mash tun and also their boiler. A lot of stuff in here. The bottom ring, it's kind of whitish. That's actually the steam that's coming in. There is kind of a stirrer in there. A few of the other things, I'm not exactly sure what they are.
I see the ladder. I know what that is.
The ladder for sure. And that's how they clean it.
Yeah, that's a lot of gear in there.
And if you look at this is like 15, 20 minutes after they finish brewing, and look how clean this thing was.
So their mash tun and their boil kettle
are the same
thing.
Same thing.
Wow.
So what they were able to tell me about the mash schedule was it is a step infusion mash. One trick, as far as we'll get into this a little bit later, but every brewery, and I went to 16 breweries in March, every single one in Belgium did a step mash.
Wow.
No single infusion at all. Everything was step.
That's interesting.
And that goes against a lot of the stuff on the forums now where everybody's talking single infusion.
It does, but you know what? It goes with some of the things I've heard from old school brewers, and I mean real old school brewers who say single step mashing, it's ridiculous. It's a shortcut. I don't know why anybody does it. I mean, I've really heard people are adamant about that we cheat, essentially. And we found ways, I think, because of how good the grain is now and things like that, to get away with it.
There's always that big thing about how modified the grain is.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so modified you don't need to do a step mash.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
But there are these guys like these people.
But are you tasting this beer? All those people out there that are happening to be drinking this beer?
It's a good argument.
I step mash every time.
You do.
Why? Because I can.
But, but I mean, have the monks actually tried brewing with a single infusion?
I would imagine they have. I didn't actually get into that because I do that myself, and I find that there's something there is a change in the mash from 122 on up. And, if you do a 135 gluten rest and beta rest.
And just real quick, if you've never brewed all grain, there are definitely some new listeners. People don't always know. A step mash is just that you change this. There are different steps in the heating of your mash.
Temperature rest.
You actually do different temperature rests. You bring it to a temperature, you rest there for a period of time. You bring it up to another temperature, you rest for a period of time. That's all we're talking about.
You're using different enzymes at different temperatures
that are in the husk
to actually work different things in the mash, proteins, glutens, or your long chain.
And you can look back through our archives. You'll get a full description of all that.
And if you look at this beer, it is crystal clear. I mean,
I was looking at it till I drank it all.
Except mine.
Well, you got the end.
Yeah, you got the end.
Thanks.
JP got the end.
Thanks. You got Doc's ass.
What else is new?
Yeah.
Saccharification temperature, I will tell you, it is in the mid to low 150s.
Okay, so protein rest at 122, mid to low 150s for saccharification.
And then they do a mash out at 170.
So they do only do 3 steps.
Only 3 steps.
You're not leaving anything out here.
I'm not leaving anything out.
Okay. Standard time, like 20 minutes or so for 15, 20 minutes?
Yes.
Right about there. Okay.
And they do mash out.
And the mash out, I think, is really important because,
I like how the brewer...
You won't get it clear.
In the picture on the left, I like how the brewer is pretending he gives a shit what you're saying to him.
No, you know why?
Thank you.
Do you know why? Because he's talking to the giant.
Yes. Well, he's just in awe about how large you are.
Yeah. I was in awe, too, because I was asking him a lot of questions about, why...
You weren't talking angry, were you?
No, I was not angry at all. If anything, I was very, very humbled.
I was whispering.
Yes. It was really humbling because to talk to him, this is a good segue. So, Gumber Santos, I asked him how he got the job. And when I asked him, he kind of smiled, and in his kind of quiet manner, he said, well, I was actually in biotechnology, and I needed a place to study in silence, and there wasn't many places, and he lived in Rochefort in the town, and he would actually come to the church and actually study there.
Gotcha.
Because it was quiet and nobody talked because everybody's in silence.
Yeah.
And he had a wonderful place to study. And in the time that he was studying for his PhD, the head monk actually got to know him rather well, and over his studies they would talk periodically, and towards the end of his studies, Gummer had been a home brewer, and he had brewed several batches of beer, and, especially being into biotechnologies, he understood a lot of the brewing principles. And at that particular point, the head monk kind of went up to him and said, "Would you be interested in a job here?"
Wow. Just kind of...
And it was all relationship-based.
That's fantastic.
And here's a guy who had never had any commercial brewing experience.
Yeah.
Never done anything to this scale, just on a home brew scale. And here he just landed a dream job.
And how long's he been there now?
He has been there, I want to say, 11 years.
Okay.
That's a world-class dream job.
Yeah, that's great.
And he was so humbled, and yet he's so respected where he worked. He really went on about just how kind the monks are, and what a great opportunity. And I right about when this picture was taken, I'm just kind of like, so you mean to tell me you had no brewing experience, and yet here you are, outside of just being a home brewer, you're working for Rochefort?
Yeah.
So what was your internship like? And he's like, well, that's why they hired me over a commercial brewer or somebody who went to brewing school.
I see.
They wanted somebody that they can train and that they can meld to do exactly what they have been doing for years.
And they're right about that.
Exactly.
No bad habits, no stubborn processes you don't want to get rid of.
No profit-oriented, we got to try new stuff. To this. It's
great.
It's all about reproducing this beer.
Yeah.
And that to me was hugely important, because I think about even when I brew, I don't brew a lot of the same beers, but the ones that I do, I look at very much like this.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I know why I do it.
Right.
And you do this for a reason.
That's great.
It really showed a lot to why they hired him, not only just because of his experience in the lab, which is critical, but also they really wanted that beer to stay the same.
Yeah.
They did not want it to change or evolve. They really wanted to keep it as traditional as they possibly could.
And I'm glad they do that.
Me too.
All right, what else we got here?
So, next slide, Lauterton.
Okay.
So this is the top tank. After they've mashed, they bring it up here. They let it sit for a little bit, and nice little shots. You can also see that beautiful stained glass.
Yeah.
And again, just how clean and impeccable just that copper is, and just the floors.
On top of just the cleanliness, with that stained glass in the back, and the way the light's coming in, what a cool place to be working. I mean,
seriously.
How do you have a bad day in that place?
And imagine sunrise coming through those windows in the morning, because 3:30.
I would never see that, but
yeah.
Sunset maybe.
Yeah. So if you go on to the next slide number 14, you can actually see the inside of the Lauterton. You can actually see where the grain comes in on the top, and then it kind of fans out from there. And the rakes that kind of rake it through, and that beautiful floor that I think every home brewer wishes they had in there.
Yeah. Nice false bottom there. Now that's cool, the way that they put the grain in the top there. I've seen a lot lately where they pump it right in on the bottom.
Yeah.
You got to have a pretty powerful pump to do that as it fills up.
Big time.
And in fact, I was at Firestone when his pump, he was doing it, and his pump broke right while I was there.
Yeah.
Now theirs is largely gravity fed anyway. They have like a 3-tiered system there, but like I said, when it's pumping in through the bottom there, the more that thing fills up, obviously the more pressure.
Yeah,
so his pump broke right while I was there. He kept a smile on his face. He was very upbeat about it, but I could tell that something disastrous had just happened.
Poor Matt.
But anyway, that's cool right there, because it falls in over the top.
That screen they have on the bottom, that's something special.
Oh, it is.
I've looked into those.
Yeah, and that's very pricey.
It's very, very pricey. It's all triangular metal.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically what we see is only the top apex of it.
Yeah, the apex, and then the bottom. If you look at each little slat in that the grid, it's actually triangular metal.
I see.
So it comes out, so it's wider, and it's amazing.
So each one of those kind of comes down to a point underneath.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
And it costs a lot of money.
And is that because? So then you have this section in between to catch even more than just the top layer.
It just drains a lot.
It's all surface area.
It's all surface area. It drains a lot better. It doesn't channel so much.
Exactly.
That way.
Cool.
And then they also have the rakes to make sure that their efficiency is really high.
Okay.
So going on to slide number 15, the brewing. Now, with what we just saw and the fact that they go from the mash tun to the Lauterton, go through the Grant, and then back into the mash tun for a ending boil, there's no worry about hot cideration. I actually asked that, and I said, what about hot cideration? I mean, aren't you worried about that in your brewing process? He looked at me and smiled. He's like, I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if that's maybe a byproduct of a flavor or another way that they get certain flavors in their beer.
Well, also they've got something to counteract it. It's a very dark beer with a lot of melanoidins.
Big time.
And the melanoidins actually counteract any oxidative problems.
Okay.
Especially this early.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, too, is that, you know, he was talking a lot about, you know, again, getting back to that tradition where when they're doing this for a reason. You know, the flavors and where they get the flavors in these beers that we're trying, there's not a lot in there. They're not adding fruit. They're not adding different spices.
So
they're not adding
a lot of process.
Getting flavors that
they are
think they did. So
now, this is also interesting, too, is because they do use a little bit of coriander.
They do.
Now, what's interesting is that Papazian actually talks about this a little bit, is that basically cinnamon and coriander are the two best preservatives when it comes to spices. Okay. So they actually, almost like hops and how they have the antiseptic property, they actually can help aid stabilization of the beer.
Okay.
So I think that's more of why it's in there. It's not really to taste. I've never been able to taste coriander.
Where in the process is it going in?
That's going in the boil.
In the boil, okay.
It's everything in the boil pretty much with them.
Yep, and it is only a 90-minute boil, which again I thought was very interesting because I know other brewers who do, you know, 120-minute boil. Some do 2, 3, 4 hours.
They want to get darker beer.
The caramelization, the kettle, you get the concentration, because also, I mean, these are not weak beers.
Yeah.
You know, and so they're not using a ton of heat to keep these things going for a long time, so there's not a ton of pot caramelization.
Pot.
It's a pot.
Then from there, basically, 10 minutes into the boil, they're adding their bittering hops.
Okay. Wow.
And so they're doing 80 minutes with those bittering hops. So that's a lot longer than most of us who put our bittering hops in at 60.
Yeah, no kidding.
And mind you, that will also change how much you actually have to use because of your utilization.
I was going to ask you. So they actually use less hops then?
Big time.
Yeah.
And they're not using a lot of hops. I mean, think about that. You know, the 8 only has 22 IBUs. The 10 only has 27.
Did they talk about aging their hops?
They do not age their hops.
Okay, because that's always what comes up with the Belgian. They age their hops.
Well, for like a Cantillon or, you know, Dreifontein, definitely they would age their hops.
And not for this.
But not for this.
I wonder if...
But remember, too, you're only, you know, with this kind of low, you know, IBUs and a high gravity, it's more just to preserve the beer, and it's also to give that little bit of bitterness and to balance out the flavor.
Yeah.
But these are, you know, definitely people who are not hop heads will really enjoy these beers.
Yeah.
As well as I think even a hop head too, because of just the complexity that these beers have.
Well, that's what I was saying. You don't think I'm a bit of a hop head, and I don't ever think it's missing.
I mean it's there.
Yeah.
I mean you can taste it.
You know that the beer is right the way it is. You don't want to add anything to it, so you want more hops. Okay.
Big time. And then basically
aroma at 10 there.
They do the aroma hops. That's within the last 10 minutes.
So
there's just
only two additions.
Only 2 additions.
The 80-minute and the 10-minute.
That's it.
Now let me jump ahead, just real quick. I don't want you to go into it yet because we're going to go over it.
Totally.
Did you do a 90-minute boil then on your clone?
Yes, I did.
And you did an 80-minute addition?
I did not. I did not know this at the time.
Ah, okay. You did a 60 on that.
Yeah, and if you look at Stan Hieronymus' book, where he actually was also able to get into Rochefort, he talks about their brewing process, and I had not actually read that yet when I brewed mine.
Okay.
So I would definitely change the recipe I did for also the ingredients as well.
Okay. And we're going to be talking more about that in the next hour when we get into the actual clone that Paxton brewed here.
So then basically the brewing process is finished. If we go to slide number 16, these guys use a centrifuge. Instead of a whirlpool, they use a centrifuge. And on the right...
And you're talking about for filtering out this beer.
For filtering.
Yeah.
And so basically you think about all the protein coagulation and all the trub formation and all that. Yeah. They only remove 90% of it. Now you think about a whirlpool, and I don't know if you can really get a percentage about how much they remove, but these guys are really particular that they only want to remove 90% of it. They want to leave a little tiny bit in there.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Absolutely.
And then they also use this too right before bottling.
Okay.
So it goes here 2 different times.
It's interesting, too.
Slide number 17. So basically, we kind of walk back downstairs, and actually, on the opposite side of the wall, on the left-hand side, is actually where the church is.
Looks like a torture device.
Probably was at one time.
You never know.
Yeah.
And walking through, this was kind of like their old museum. This is where they had a lot of their old historical stuff. In there, they had the old crates, the wooden crates.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom right-hand shot is actually from Alan Sprince's beer cellar, where he actually happened to have some of the old etched-on labels. Which is pretty cool. So
how far back does that date?
Those are about 10, maybe 12 years old. So,
nice.
Yeah, I need to get back up there.
Yeah.
So basically, this was just a whole bunch of stuff. So they actually have like some barrels back there. You can see they had carts that would actually have the beer, so the monks could bring it to the market to sell and whatnot. Going to slide number 18, we're going to get into fermentation. So fermentation, they recently just switched to conicals. They used to have some more open fermenters.
The big cool ships?
And basically, the cool ships weren't keeping up with demand, and then also issues with, sanitation and being open versus closed.
Mm-hmm.
But they were really particular, and they spent a lot of time figuring out the conicals, because it really dramatically changes the pressure on the yeast, how the yeast flocculate throughout the wort, and they really wanted to make sure that the flavor profiles, because that yeast, and how it works, they really spent a lot of time to make sure that it's the best optimum thing. And basically, they have these huge, giant, 400 hectoliter, 340 barrel, conicals.
Yeah.
And they only fill them halfway.
That's interesting.
Because they do not want to over-pressurize.
Yeah, they don't want the pressure on the bottom part of it.
Yeah. And people talk about that as affecting the flavor of and how the yeast works, right?
Big time.
So, there's a whole science behind pressure on yeast, but that we're not going to go into. But just so everyone knows, people definitely talk about how not only the shape but the size of your conical will affect
volume. So it's not about the size.
Will affect how the yeast works and how healthy it is and how alive it is, the whole thing. So that's interesting. So they only do them halfway, huh?
And I thought that was also very interesting too, because you think about, to spend that much time to upgrade and modernize, they really, every single step they are looking at. And I suggest...
What else do they have to do?
Pray.
They got plenty of time to look into that.
Well, and also what I think is neat too is because this is also, as a home brewer, really rethink how you're doing certain things. How are you, when you put it into a conical or using a glass carboy or using a plastic bucket, how full is it? What kind of temperature differential will you get in that container, and how consistent can you keep that beer?
Did you leave enough star sand in there?
Exactly.
All questions you should be asking yourselves.
I didn't ask if they use star
sand
in their
half full
beer.
of star sand. Is it half empty or half full of star sand?
How it's going to look on your carpet. There's a lot of questions you need to ask.
What's the SRM of your carpet right now?
It's looking good.
Annual production right now is about 1,800 hectoliters, which is about 1,400 barrels. So it's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
So I found very interesting, too, that they can at any time double production.
If they wanted to.
So going to the next...
the go-ahead on that?
Exactly. Well, I think it's all supply and demand.
Yeah.
These guys are very happy what they're doing, and getting into our next slide will actually show. So basically what happens...
What are we on, 19?
19.
Okay.
So what's really a trip here is that when they brew Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Is this his homebrew setup here?
No, this is actually how they do their yeast.
Basically, I think it's all big homebrew setup all the way around.
It totally is. And again, this was really, to me, inspiring because we can do this kind of stuff. Okay. Now, they take their yeast, and the slide, or the picture on the left, is basically where they keep their yeast. And when they're ready to use it, they prop it over to the yeast propagator on your right, and they don't use any oxygen. They don't use pure oxygen, which for such strong beers, I've always been under the idea of as much oxygen as they need, sometimes multiple oxygen additions.
Yeah.
Because you really want to make sure that yeast is as healthy as it can to really attack something that, especially for the 10 that's, 11.3%. I mean, you think about how much
we're drinking
sugar, which is, this is such a great beer.
This is an amazing beer.
We're doing the 10 now.
This is the best one we've had so far.
Yeah.
Now, this is Doc's. This is over a year old, and the next one we're going to actually open is actually one that Gummer gave me.
We need to get that cold.
As fresh as it gets. And it's also a 10.
We got to get it cold.
Okay, you can pop it in.
Producer Shat will take care of that.
I got to go out that way anyway.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Uh-oh. You're busy?
Yes.
Bye, Doc.
Doc's got things to do.
So, what's interesting is that they usually start out with the Rochefort 6, and when they brew that, they brew it a couple times a year, and they use that to propagate up their yeast. Then they go to the 8, and the 8, they'll actually use that same yeast multiple batches, like upwards to 8 or 10 times.
Okay. Well, that's not a lot, really.
It's not. Yeah. But what's interesting, too, is you think about a beer that's that high in alcohol. I mean, we're talking 9.2%. I mean, it's, there's probably a little bit of mutation going on there, but, they're very particular about how it's, they're not blending all these beers, except how they actually ferment, and this is what I think is really interesting. So they'll use the yeast off the 8, and then when they use it for the 10, they only will use it once.
Okay.
They will not use it any more than that. After that, they just toss it, because after 11.3%, it is not worth using.
Okay, so they say it's just too tired now, and
too tired, it's not optimum.
Okay.
I mean, I think most home brewers out there know, like, if you do a barley wine, even though you have a ton of yeast, you're not reusing that for another beer.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
The name of the game really seems to be with these guys efficiency as well.
Big time.
I mean, with the 80-minute boil on the hops, they get to use less hops. They extract every bit of bitterness that they can out of that. With stepping up the yeast while still brewing their batches of the beer, the 6, then the 8, and then one time on the 10.
Bang.
No waste. They're really just...
Well, not only that, but get this. So they brew 4 times a week, right?
Yeah.
Guess where all that beer goes? It all goes in the same conical.
Oh, no kidding.
No. So this I found
How is that?
Extremely fascinating. So they pitch all the yeast that they need the first batch. Okay. So on Monday they put in, basically they put the yeast into this propagator. They put filtered just regular air for a while, a couple hours. Get that yeast ready to go, and they don't add any oxygen or any air to the actual wort. So it's only in the propagator.
Okay.
And then at that point, it goes into the conical, and they pour batch number 1 on Monday on top of it.
Okay.
Then they brew on Tuesday, and they pour that batch on Tuesday onto the first batch on Monday. Wednesday, they don't brew. Then Thursday, they brew back on top of Monday and Tuesday's batch, and then on Friday, they do the same thing. So this beer, basically, it's building up to that halfway mark up on their tanks. So after that, you think about how the yeast is reacting to the additions of sugar. Mm-hmm. Now, you tried my 120 before, and you think about, I didn't add all my corn sugar at the beginning. I added it twice a day, every day, to keep that yeast as healthy as possible, to let them do what they need to do.
Yeah.
But as it gets higher and higher in gravity, and the alcohol and the yeast aren't being as effective, at that point, that last addition, those yeast are probably getting a little tired.
Was that the beer that you roofied me with, or was that a different?
No,
that was a different one.
That was the one that he gave you at Downtown Joe's.
Ah,
yeah,
different.
Not the roofie beer.
Not the roofie. I remember that night.
Is that me? Do you remember? Are you sure?
Tasty beer.
Yeah, he came in stumbling, like slamming into things, and I think he hit the floor once.
It was another hairy giant.
Yes, exactly. So this is where I think it's really interesting, because how many home brewers have brewed a batch of beer and then added another batch of beer on top of it?
Yeah.
And think about what flavor profiles you would get from that.
Sure. It's interesting because when we do our barrel show, we'll be talking about that to fill up some of these barrels we can get.
4 barrels in my garage.
Yeah, and how, we'll have to do that as home brewers to add beers, on top there. So.
Yeah, Sean and I have plans for a couple of those barrels.
But it kind of goes to show the consistency of what they're brewing, too, right? Because if they're throwing, 4 different batches of the 6 into this...
Big time.
Each one, it better be the same. Otherwise, that beer's going to come out different, right?
It's more for I mean, that's what Budweiser does.
Yeah.
A lot of big breweries
and their blend is how they get the consistency.
But they're blending it at bottling, not during fermentation, correct?
Yes.
I don't think so.
No, I think that's right too. I think I saw it too. But the idea with them, and now I'm wondering if you're right, because the idea with Budweiser is that they blend until it tastes exactly how it's supposed to taste.
Like Bubba
and is
thinks
that
it
what they're
should.
doing at Rochefort too? They're blending and then they keep tasting and they'll add more of one or the other, or they're just throwing it all in there.
No, they're throwing 100% of their beer.
Yeah,
Monday,
is the way they
Tuesday,
do it.
Thursday, Friday.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's unique, because when
I don't know
Budweiser
anybody
does
else
it,
doing this.
they
I think
blend to get the right flavor.
I think it's a good way that's why the yeast can mow through all that, because
I think so
doing
too,
that.
because it's a feeding. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
it's
exactly.
they're carrying after that yeast, they're feeding that yeast,
and it works.
They're not over, because I mean, you think about it too. When you get a stuck fermentation, you have way too much sugar, and this is also what's interesting, is because you think about the grist of this beer, 20% of it is sugar.
Yeah.
And yeast, they will eat the sugar first.
Yeah, they'll mow through that
And
first.
if there's too much sugar in your beer, what will happen is they will not be happy to go back to the maltose and say, okay, let's eat that. They're like, you know what, I'm tired.
I'm fine, I'm tired, I'm full.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'll flocculate. I'm flocculating. How about you?
I haven't flocculated.
I'm going to meet you at the bottom.
I'll meet you at the bottom, man.
So I thought that was really fascinating, and I don't know of any other brewery who does this, because also you think about how much time this takes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this shows that they're not about profit.
Right.
These guys are not about anything else outside of making a consistent quality beer.
Right.
So from the homebrew standpoint, the 1762 is a great yeast from Y Yeast that basically is the closest beer or beer yeast to use to make this.
Let me tell you this, Paxton. You have 10 minutes to finish this slideshow, because I know people are going to want to talk about how to brew these beers.
Definitely.
But I have give me a quick answer to, you mentioned that they don't use O2 to aerate.
Correct.
What do they do?
They use air.
Just air, filtered air.
Which it works
so
the
there's still
same.
an aeration
It
pump.
does take longer, though.
So they do the John Palmer method. They put a fish tank pump on there and just not a fish. You know what I'm.
John is right.
But
and
the thing is,
John is a saint.
And the strange thing is they don't aerate the wort. Only the yeast
Not
starter.
the wort. Yes, exactly. Just the yeast.
Okay.
So
well, and we've seen articles and postings about that around the net too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Go on.
So going on to slide number 20, fermentation starts about 66 degrees or 19 degrees Celsius, and it actually ramps up to 73 degrees. So there is a step up, and you are getting different flavors.
Okay.
So I was lucky enough to actually smell the Rochefort 8 on, and that's actually what's on the right there. That's their airlock. And Gummer was kind enough to warn me not to breathe too much because it's pure CO2 coming out of that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just candy.
Oh.
I mean, the street value of that air.
Yeah. Woo! I want to point out, just because I'm wont to do, Rochefort pitches cold. And then they let it rise.
They pitch it at 68.
They do not pitch
or 66,
warm and then cool down to their temperature. They pitch at a lower temperature and then let it rise up to fermentation.
Remember, that yeast is healthy. It's ready to go. It is aerated. It is primed.
Yeah.
It is
That's
been
happy
used to
yeast.
that.
It's ready.
Gravity.
They want to mow.
Cool.
And so you can actually see there's a temperature gauge, and they were okay with me showing this, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very nice. So if you go to the slideshow, you can see them right there in Celsius.
In Celsius, which I remember looking at that, and I'm like, wow, do you mind if I take a picture of this? He's like, no, it's okay.
Wow.
So going to slide 21, so basically after 7 days, so they start brewing on Monday, and then the following Monday, they're pretty much done brewing, and that yeast and everything has done its deed, and they basically bring it into the bottling tanks.
Okay.
At this point, it goes through the centrifuge unit again. They remove any yeast matter, and at that point, they go to these bottling tanks. Now, the one thing that I liked is, I don't know about you guys, but I always have a hard time sanitizing my tubes and hoses.
Me too.
And you get that big, giant, long, perfectly, set up for their pumps and their hoses to sanitize. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is down kind of in the barrels of the brewery. And from there, they go to the bottling line. Now, the bottling line, they only bottle on Wednesday, so you're curious 22. What they do.
That's why they don't brew.
Exactly, that's why they don't brew. They have a state-of-the-art German bottling line. there is no keg filler. And also, if you notice, all these bottles are actually recycled, which is actually pretty cool.
Good boys.
So in Belgium, what they do, and they've trained their consumers to use plastic 24-pack carrier boxes,
like the crate type of things, like
kind of like
crate.
a crate,
yeah.
But there's no tops to them, and the beer just sits right in there, and they all snap up, and they can actually stack them pretty high. And what's great is that they reuse most of their bottles.
Great.
Which I thought was really cool.
I think that's awesome.
And so basically, on Wednesday, they add a certain amount of sugar, and this is just dextrose, and then they add a certain amount of fresh yeast, which it's the same Rochefort yeast.
I would say the same yeast that they ferment with.
Same fermentation.
Good.
It's probably a different batch. It's probably not the same batch that they just used, so it is fresh yeast.
But it's not a different yeast
strain.
altogether.
No, it's the same strain.
Okay.
And from there, they actually bottle it. And if you go to slide number 23, you can actually see on the right those kind of orange, yellowish colored containers, and that's actually one of the brewery workers. And they actually put it through a whole washing machine, so it actually takes off the old labels. And every once in a while, you'll actually see a different bottle, whether it's a Westmalle bottle or something else, that will make its way, just happenstance through. So
they still fill it.
They still fill it.
And then do they sell it, or they kind of give that away if they ever catch it?
They sell it.
Yeah.
So every once in a while,
slap a new
you will
label
see
on
one
it.
in there.
You know, why worried about it? If it's got your label on it, you know?
It's still a Trappist product.
That's right.
So going on to slide number 24, this is actually where they do their sensory analysis. Once a week, they get together and they actually blend both brand new beers and older beers, and sometimes they'll put in a good old 3-4-year-old beer just because the monks deserve it.
Yeah.
And 3 monks kind of help with the tasting, and they basically go through and they double check to make sure that the beer has the same flavors, it's aging well, that there's nothing wrong with that particular batch.
By they, it's all monks and the brewer?
Monks and,
three monks. It's a 3-monk night.
3 monks. 3 monks.
There's a song.
And one brewer.
Come on, push and Sven.
So there's
3-monk night. I need it.
4 guys, 3 monks and a brewer, that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
And what's amazing, too, is that these guys really know their beers. I mean, I think about when I brew a beer and, I brew it again and I can taste the differences. These guys got it down to, the head monk. He's like, I know that this particular beer was 3-4 years old.
Oh, wow.
He picks it every time.
Yeah, you brewed that one on Tuesday before the rains.
And what's great, too, is that they correlate all this data, and they have this just amazing database where he can pull up all this stuff, and he knows exactly what beer was brewed what day, and when it was bottled, and how it was treated, and everything else. And so they can go back and just double check to make sure that they're keeping with those same practices and really reproducing that beer and giving it justice.
Yeah. And it says here the monks are all allowed 1 beer a day?
1 beer a day.
That's a tough life.
Is there a minimum?
I don't know if there's a minimum, but they were allowed 1 beer a day.
But that's their
maximum. One beer's a minimum.
Oh, you don't know? Is that a maximum?
Yeah, that's all he told me, and I know that there's probably certain celebrations.
Sure. No, there has to be. Come on.
Christmas.
They're happy people.
All Saints Day.
So,
Day.
Yeah. But what was kind of cool about this too is if you look up on the shelves here, 3 of these walls were covered in mugs and steins.
Yeah.
And the first one there on the left, those are all Rochefort steins. I mean, some of those have to be 200, 300, 400 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before they had glass.
I bet they don't run those at a dishwasher.
And then on the other side, they actually had Westmalle, they had Chimay, they had some different German ones. Really, really cool place.
Yeah.
And then this brings us to the age-old question, and this has been posted on the Babel Belt and a few other places about magnums of 10. The Rochefort 10 has been done in magnums. I'm looking at the bottle right now. These were absolutely a limited, very private release. When they do these, they are hand-bottled.
Wow.
They only really do this around Christmas, hence the Santa Claus on there. But they did do it, and they will do it again. But it is not something that they go out of their way to do. Mm-hmm. If you ever happen to be lucky enough to get one of these, you are just blessed.
Cool.
You won't be in what's that? Connecticut?
You won't be in Connecticut.
Because you can't have Santa Claus on the label.
That's right.
And
can't have his ass anyway.
Yeah, because
they'll figure that one.
Yeah, the kids might want some Trappist beer.
3 minutes.
So there we go with that one. Basically, after it's been bottled, they bring it into the warm storage on slide number 26. They keep it at 73 degrees for 2 weeks. So at this point, the beer is completely 100% done, ready to go out to the public.
After the 2 weeks.
3 weeks from start to finish.
Okay.
So 2 weeks in the warm room.
Which just amazes me.
That is amazing.
It's
11.3%
big
beer.
beer, a great beer.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks, hey, let's drink it.
It's that stepped up yeast, man. It just goes to town on it.
Healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Cries for Justin beer. 3 weeks, we can drink it.
Absolutely. Hey, did your clone only take 3 weeks?
No.
See. We got to get this down.
This is
what we do is we brew
You're
it
cutting in by 3 minutes, man.
I know, but this now
He'll
it's
extend
important. We have to do this in cycles too. Like Paxton brews it, and then it goes to Doc. The yeast goes to Doc. Then the yeast has to come to me last because I'll fuck it up. So, but we could step it up too, so that by the time it gets to me, mine will only take 3 weeks. Because it'll just be a mean slurry yeast in there.
Happy. Oh, yeah.
Hey, wait a minute.
All right, go on.
So on the slide number 27 is actually their tasting room, and this is a pretty new room on their Abbey. And if you look at the floor, that's actually the old mash tun floor. I thought that was kind of cool that they kept that around.
That's
so
cool.
That's way back from like 1950s. And what was kind of cool too is if you look on the upper right-hand slide, you see that sink, and that actually is made from a tree that used to be where the tasting room was.
Oh, man.
And what was kind of cool is that the actual table that he's pouring the beers from, that's the other side of it.
These guys are like the recycle kings.
And this room was just a really cool room. So Gummer proceeded to pour us just some wonderful examples of both the 6 and the 8, and we had some 10 in there too. And the 6, it was a real treat because this is a beer that had never left the Abbey, and it was actually 3 years old.
Wow.
And it was just like, after this tour, and you were inspired, you're in awe, and then, man, yummy.
Is this last one we're drinking here the one that you brought fresh to us?
Yes, it is.
No.
That's sorry.
That's still my 10.
So we'll get to that after the break. And then the last slide, I had to just pull Sully into this one, because if you happen to look on the right-hand slide, that is actually a can of 21 IPA.
Slide number 28. Not quite the last slide there, but
Sully, I love you.
Had he met Sully?
No.
You just said, could you hold this, please?
Not only that, but I
made him drink one.
The group that I went with, we gave him about, 10, 11 beers, and we wanted to make sure. We actually gave him a bottle, Pliny the Elder, that we bottled with permission of Vinny, and we gave him the 21A and a few other Tommy Arthur's Cuvée de Tommy and a few other ones that we thought he would really enjoy, that, he might not get there in Belgium, that might not be down at their corner store, and we really wanted to make sure that, he was taken care of. And
did he try that 2NA IPA?
He did, and actually I haven't talked to him about what he thought of it, but I'm sure he liked it. It was monk approved. But also it was interesting too, because these guys don't really drink overly hoppy beers. I mean, Durank X Bitter is 65 IBUs. So
so you killed a couple monks with Pliny?
Hop bombs, yes. Yeah. Going on to slide number 29. When you look at the bottles, here's the born on date. So basically the first 2 numbers is the day, the next 2 numbers is the month, and the last 2 numbers is the year.
Okay.
The year is always 5 years later than when it was actually brewed.
Minus
always
5.
Minus 5 to get the actual born on date. I recommend to use that as 5 years as far as, look, it's expired, and it's time to drink it.
I don't understand. Why is the year always 5 years
in advance? Because it's like an expiration date.
They think that's the best time to drink is between now and then.
By Belgium law, they have to have this now.
Okay.
And so that's why they have it on there. And it's basically a way to actually go backwards to see when it was
And European-wise, they always put the day, month, year.
Okay, so it's not a born on date, it's a drink by date.
It's a drink by date, but, it's basically the day it was brewed, if you minus 5 off the year.
Gotcha.
Can you do that? It's math.
No. I know.
Remember in 4th grade, Justin?
No.
4th grade, and Justin, you Ask the teacher, am I ever going to use this stuff?
I didn't even ask about it because I knew I wouldn't.
Now you're using it.
And then just a real quick look at the label.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, there is a star, and the star represents faith. The palm in the center is actually for hope, and then the wonderful rose on the side is actually for charity.
Nice.
Which I thought that was kind of cool because that really embodies what they do with the faith of the beer and, looking towards God, and then the hope, that people enjoy it. And
gotta have faith.
So just, we'll talk a little bit more after the break, but high-quality Belgian Pilsner malt on slide number 30 is pretty critical, 5% wheat starch. We do a step mash of a 3-step. The dark candy, sugar, and dextrose, the last 15 minutes to boil, they add that in there. So as far as the different flavors that gives. And then the 1762, which is the best representation of that yeast for the dryness and yet the fruitiness that gives and the flocculation and wonderful attenuation from 73 to 77%.
There we go.
Why yeast on that one.
And when we come back, we are going to talk more about how to brew this.
But I do have to give a big thanks to Gummer Santos because he was just such a wealth of knowledge and just so open, and the beer we're about to try is from him, and just wonderful.
Cool.
And again, Stan Hieronymus for his other book.
Who's another very nice gentleman. Yeah,
he is. He's
a good dude.
Guy. And the last slide is just my little way of not doing 563 2nd Street, but
homebrewchef.com.
A whole bunch of different shots. So, I was lucky enough to go meet Danny at Fantôme and Dirk over at the Culminator and Urbane over at De Struce, and we went to Rochefort or Rodenbach, we went to Dedal, we went to Orval, we went to Zythos, we went to Cantillon.
Wow.
Yeah, we were busy.
I gotta say, man, not only the presentation was beautiful, very well put together, but your photography rocks, man.
Well, thank you.
You get great perspective so we can really see the things we want to see.
And the monks loved it, so that was really cool.
Did they?
They really liked how I represented the brewery, which, it was a little intimidating because it was so awe-inspiring, and to think about, I got to pick up a camera and actually take pictures, and you're trying to absorb all this information he's telling you, and you're like, when I got back to the car, I was actually just putting it all in a notebook because I know I'm going to forget it.
Oh, yeah.
It was so much stuff.
Now you got to write that down quick.
But it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, check out my site. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there. I'm always adding new stuff and a lot of tours and a lot of pictures from Europe, and hope you guys enjoy.
Do it. It's beautiful. Homebrewchef.com. If you're just tuning in, we've done an entire tour.
And all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of stuff there. We'll talk about it, too, because we're going to talk about some of your recipes and some of your food. And you get if you're just tuning in, an entire tour of the Rochefort Brewery, which you don't get as a normal human being, but Paxton does get because he bothers you until you say yes. That's what happens with Paxton.
Remember, the whole reason why they do this is all searching for God.
Yeah.
So are we.
Yeah, but you can taste it a lot more in their beer. It's amazing.
And you just really taste the quality and just, the drinkability of these beers. I mean, they are definitely something you want to savor. These are not your quaffing hot Pacheco nights, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is hot in Pacheco.
It's very hot.
Prost, dude.
In Pacheco. It's our midsummer show, and it always gets that way. And all right, we're going to come right back, and we're going to spend the next hour or so talking about how to brew these bad boys, and we got a clone from Sean Paxton that we can taste. So hang in there. It's the Rochefort Show with homebrew chef Sean Paxton.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
St. Paul in his letter to the Ephesians said it came to me upon a midnight clear. I've finished writing all of my gospels. Now all I seem to want is sex and beer. the Delaware. There was no midnight ride for Paul Revere. Ben Franklin never discovered electricity. They were too busy looking for sex and beer. Sex and beer are the two things we hold dear. Sex and beer. Sex and beer are the things we like round here. Charles Dickens gave us great expectations. Shakespeare gave us Hamlet and King Lear. Dostoevsky gave us crime and punishment. Who the hell is gonna give us sex and beer? Sex and beer are the two things we hold dear. Sex and beer. Sex and beer are the things we like round here. Sing it so I can dance. Sex and beer. To the suburbs, to the country, from the southern to the northern hemisphere, they're holding a tremendous referendum, and everybody's choosing sex and beer. Sex and beer are the two things we hold dear. Sex and beer. Sex and beer are the things we like round here. They can take away my pride and my dignity gone. They can use up all my blood and sweat and tears used. They can take away my name and give me a number, 911. But they can never take away my sex and beer. Sex and beer. Sex and beer are the two things we hold dear. Sex and beer. Sex and beer are the things we like round here. We like sex and beer and sex and beer and sex and beer and sex and beer.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Sullivan, the brewmaster and co-founder of the 21st Amendment Brewery and Restaurant in San Francisco. 6 years ago, Nico Freccia and I opened the 21st Amendment on 2nd Street with the intent of bringing back the local neighborhood brew pub. Well, the neighborhood has really changed over the years, but the 21st Amendment still remains a great place for people to meet over a terrific meal and a tasty pint of beer. In the past, the only way you could enjoy the 21st Amendment's handcrafted beers was at the brew pub. Well, all that has changed. Now, the 21st Amendment beers are available in cans. That's right, cans. When was the last time you had a great beer in a can? Well, that day has come. We're offering our world-famous Watermelon Wheat and 21A IPA in cans. Cans are a better package than glass because cans keep the beer fresher longer, but you can also take cans to places where bottles can't go, like the beach, lake, golf courses, and sporting events. So join us in the revolution to take back the can from the big breweries and crack open a cold 21A craft beer in a can. The 21st Amendment, 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park.
Wait till you can pour it out of your own kegerator.
Yeah. I mean, your friends will look at you with awe.
And it's just hot.
It is?
It's so super hot.
The home of live beer radio.
TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer,
radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The
Session.
keeping the ass out of Brewcast.
This is The Brewing Network.
All right. right, here we go. Coming back to the show here and going to talk about how to brew these things with Sean Paxton. You can go to homebrewchef.com, like we've let you know already, and you can get this slideshow by going to his beer page. Scroll down, although there's lots of good stuff on that page and all the other pages too. But you can scroll down and get to the Brewing Network section and download the slideshow of the entire presentation that we just saw, and it really is a cool thing. We got to thank you for that, Sean. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
You got me in trouble because the forum already was saying during the week, oh, we should have this for every show, you ass, because that's just not going to happen. But I do really like the experience and being able to do this, so we will have some more things like this for you in the future now that Paxton kind of showed us how it's done. It's a cool,
Definitely.
It's a good way to do it.
So I was very lucky to do a lot of fun things over there.
That's
so very
cool.
Appreciative to the wife for letting me go. It was very,
Thanks,
very
wife.
sweet.
Thank you, wife. I just was comparing bellies with Arlene in the beginning. The main difference between mine, Paxton's, and hers is that your wife's beautiful and we're disgusting.
Very
Pretty much, yeah.
I got real lucky.
Yeah. She's got that nice baby belly. You can never go wrong with that. I love that. That's
I
cool.
tell you.
It's like
So do you.
It's life. But mine's not a baby belly. That's what I'm saying. Mine's
That's
gross.
around.
We've got life going on over there on this Father's Day, and we're still hoping for a baby during today's show. It's funny because the two things
How's it feeling there, Arlene?
The two things she's working on, she's thinking about it, praying over there, the whole thing. It's funny because the two things I really want to happen on the air are kind of polar opposites. I want someone to die on the air, and I want someone to be born on the air. I think those two things would make for great radio. Either way. You know, I don't want you to die, Paxton. You got to be a father for somebody for a while.
That's true.
You know, if you had today, we could say Happy Father's Day.
I know, I tell you.
Now,
a little bit of
You
pressure
didn't plan
there.
that very well, did you?
Yeah, honey, there's a little bit of pressure on you. Come on.
Now, real quick.
Start pushing.
Have you heard the name Braxton Hicks?
Yes.
Paxton, are
Paxton
you
Hicks, yeah.
on this Father's Day, and it's almost baby time, a couple of weeks here. I just want to ask you real quick: are you nervous? How you feeling? Are you going to be a dad here soon?
I'm really excited, actually.
Yeah?
We talked a lot about it beforehand, and we got all that angst and stuff out of the way, and now it's just like, can the thing hurry up and get here?
You're ready.
You're ready.
I am, and it's kind of nice to have a surprise. It's kind of fun to do it the old-fashioned way, and every time they do the ultrasound, okay, we're going to look away now. And,
not see, yeah.
So whatever it pops out as, we're going to love it regardless, and
of course.
Teach it how to brew.
And you'll have a brewing assistant here very soon.
Do you plan on more kids?
We're going to take the first one and Ed as first, and we'll see how that goes.
Have three, one of each?
Yeah.
In other words, if you don't like
You're
this
my
one,
hero.
Yeah.
So you know that it's definitely not like twins or triplets, though.
Oh, trust me, I had them double-check.
That part you do know.
Oh, that part I do know, yes. And it's amazing, too, because that technology has just been surreal. I mean, the things that you can see, it's just like, oh, yeah, look, there's the kidneys, there's this, there's that. Oh, look, the lens of the eye. You're like, whoa.
Now, like, how tall are you, Paxton?
I'm 6'5".
This guy is 6'5", and you've seen, the ultrasound a little bit of this baby, I'm sure, something. Arlene, are you kind of freaked out that some, like, giant baby is going to come out of there?
She could have a first grader.
Like, do you guys know whether this... Yeah, exactly. Like, do you guys know that this is a large baby yet? Or you don't even know? Arlene's saying...
It's probably going to be big, but we'll see.
Long.
I hope
She
it's
says
not
long,
too big because, she said long.
It's a long baby.
Exactly. So we'll see.
All right, fair enough. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the clone that you did of Rochefort.
We are.
And how we can brew this at home. We're going to go through the whole process. We're going to taste it here. We'll tell you how... We've been drinking all of them for the whole first segment here. So we'll tell you how close you are, Paxton.
Well, first, I think we should compare the beer that you have in front of you right now, Justin.
Okay.
I highly recommend you try.
Okay.
This was hand, brought over by me from Gummer, and this is the beer. This is
fresh.
This didn't go through the Panama Canal.
Right.
Yeah, this is...
He smuggled it himself.
This is, what, 5 months old?
It's about 5 months old.
Okay.
And what's amazing is you can really tell the difference of this beer versus the 10 that we tried before. You get how fresh this is. It's a little sweeter. It's a lot more,
Oh, it's completely different.
It is. But yet it's not hot.
Well, and the one right before was only a year old, too, wasn't it? So,
but it had been abused.
Okay, yeah.
But even in the abuse, I think it
was awesome.
It really shows what a wonderful beer these are.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause it held
you
up.
really get the
it does.
complexity.
It held up really well.
Yeah, this one, wow, that's great.
What do you taste?
I taste a lot of the, I do want to say that I disagree with you. I still think it's a little hot. But it's high alcohol.
He said
it's
that.
going to be hot. Oh, did you say it's not hot? Okay.
I mean, but it's not like I've had barley wines at the Toronto Barley Wine Fest that were a lot hotter.
Yeah,
and
it's not overwhelming.
No.
But it's definitely. I don't think you can get away from a high alcohol beer like this being a little hot. I still get that.
But considering this beer was made in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And also you get that fig, you get that toffee, you get that caramel. But it's also it's not as linear. It's like individual flavors, and they're not like melded together in this kind of this arc.
Yeah.
It's just like you kind of taste these different flavors individually.
Yeah, and it does change quite a bit. That's interesting. This one's even better. It's great. It's fresh.
This was a real treat for me when I was there, because not only did the head brewing engineer actually pour it, but to actually try it fresh.
Yeah.
What a beer.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so we're going to move on and talk about the one that you brewed too, and I see that you're opening that for us to try now. And
Watch
you
your
also
eyes, man.
you corked that as well. You put that, so you bottle condition it just like they do?
I do bottle condition. I'm a big firm believer that Belgium should be bottle conditioned.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot to be said for that. There's I think it's not only just presentation. I think it's also about overall, just the aesthetics of it. I always love to give people a beer and cork it and then have them try it, and then they're like, "You mean you made this?"
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
And it's corked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because people just can't expect that you'd do that yourself, All right, so very cool. So you did go through the whole process. You tried to keep it as authentic as possible.
I did. Now, mind you, the clone recipe that I have on my site, you can actually look at the Brewing Network. There's a link right there on it for my clone recipe, which is actually online with some of my other homebrew recipes are on there.
Okay, so that's homebrewchef.com, and if you go to the beers page?
You can go to the beers page, and there's homebrew recipes down there towards the bottom.
Okay.
Not quite as low as yours, nothing personal.
Yeah.
You're hanging low, but
yeah, you little low guy. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different beers. This one is the Rochefort clone.
There's also a bunch of goofy pictures of Paxton with the brewers.
No, look at that
But
shame.
notice those towers over everybody.
That was on purpose.
You're a freak.
Freak Governator.
Homebrewchef.com, everybody. That's what we're talking about.
So basically, this beer is. I tried to design this from how I tasted the beer, so I went more from a conceptual standpoint and really looked at what I wanted to taste and what I tasted in their beer.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with the Castle Pils as a base. I think it was like, 6... I don't actually have the recipe in front of me, but I think it was like 6 pounds.
Let me find this recipe so that
Keep
I can
going
look
down.
at it for you.
There
Go
we go.
down, baby.
Rochefort 10 clone?
Yep. Click on that.
Okay. Okay.
We got a lot of stuff in there, baby.
Yeah, it's a very
This is
complex
really
recipe. So this is very different than actually how they brew. So I am not saying that this is how to brew this beer, but
Sure, it's
this is
just
how
how
to brew the
you-
beer that we're trying.
Okay. So 6 pounds of Pilsner. This is for a 6-gallon batch size. he's got
Thereabouts,
written
and because
down
by
here.
the time you're done with fermentation and little things here and there,
Yeah.
kind of lose some along the way.
Right.
But then I use some Cara Munich, some Cara Vienna, which I think give it that nice malt caramel complexity that we're looking for. Also a little bit of color.
I think it's interesting that you also used 3 pounds of Maris Otter, so a little English malt in there.
Yeah, I did this actually. I made a Chimay Blue clone, and the Maris Otter just has that wonderful caramel backbone, and
It does.
really adds a really nice complexity, not only just with your English beers, but also I think a little tiny, I think it was like 6%, 7% in there of that one, and I think it just really gives a nice malty sweetness and also a little bit of backbone because you do think about doing a step mash with this beer, and you are really going to strip some of that malt. So this is going to help add a lot to the beer. I'm not saying that you have to use this. I just did it because I like a little extra oomph.
Yeah. Flaked wheat?
Flaked wheat. So instead of using the wheat starch, I couldn't find wheat starch. I know probably a health food store would probably have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I use flaked wheat to give it that, and I was thinking more at the time it was more for head retention. So that's why I added it in there. And then I start getting into the sugars, correct?
Yeah, date sugar.
So date sugar. So basically what it is it's a pulverized, dehydrated date that I put in the mash.
Is this a form of dextrose?
No, it is actually just a date that's been pulverized.
Interesting. Okay.
Dehydrated.
Different form of sugar.
Different form of sugar, but there is also some flavor attributed to it, and that's actually why I mashed it as well. So I put that in the beginning of the mash and mashed all the way through with it.
Okay.
And actually, as you sparge, you can actually get a little bit of that date flavor, and it was actually pretty cool. I also use some of the Belgian rock candy syrup, which gives actually at the very end of the spear you kind of get almost a dried cherry-esque.
Yep.
That's actually where that comes from, and it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
There's no cherries in there, but yet it has a hint of cherry. So this is again a little different than the Rochefort 10, but it's very close. Belgium Strong Dark. Also put in there some of the dark soft sugar. Which also gives a nice malty, chocolatey kind of balance in there and flavor. And I can't quite read your screen from here.
Yeah, you've got if you're moving on here for your sugars, you had brown sugar.
I added a little bit of brown sugar.
Yeah, sugar. You had 1 pound of brown sugar in there,
and turbinado sugar as well.
That's right.
And because I figured the brown sugar would add kind of a nice rummy complexity that, you think about rum, you think about brandy, you think about port.
Pirates.
Yeah.
So that kind of flavor I was looking for in that. And again, I was trying to look at the total of the sugars to add up about 20%.
Okay.
So I was kind of looking at what I had in there, and I have another recipe on there called the Saucer Full of Secrets, which is my Sid Barrett tribute beer. And that has 6 different kinds of sugars as well. And it just, you think about where your flavor is coming from, and you think about the complexity, and you think about, how that is fermented, and, to use brown sugar in a beer, like the brown sugar from Lagunitas, or, certain people add in different things like molasses into their stouts and stuff to give a little bit of a different edge.
Yeah.
All the sugars that I'm using in this were to basically give that Belgium Rochefort 10 rummy brandy, hint at the end, and also just to boost up the alcohol, but also remember that they ferment out almost 100%, so they're going to help dry it out, so you actually get that.
All these sugars you add them to boost the alcohol percent, but when you can, if it's all 20%, you can break this up quite a bit.
Yeah, so it's just a different approach. So I really like to think about what I'm tasting when I tried the actual commercial beer, and then to think about what flavors I wanted to try to up and bring up in the beer, and just to help that along. And so I did this in a non-traditional Belgian way by making it complex. And there's an argument, and we can get into this for my Westmalle triple clone, which is very, very, very simple, and where this is very, very complex, but yet you get those different flavors. And actually, when we did the Trappist swap with Stan Hieronymus, I think this was the number 2 out of 7 beers that basically had the closest to a Rochefort 10-ish.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty close.
I haven't tried it yet. Before I try it, I want to point out a couple things though, because some of your sugars were added at different places. Your date sugar was actually in the mash.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting part that everyone needs to pay attention to. And then your dark brown sugar, your clear candy sugar, your dark candy sugar.
That's your regular clear rock candy sugar, which I think has a really nice flavor. I know there's a lot of debate about how expensive it is, and John Palmer.
Rock candy.
Your dark candy sugar.
Is John Palmer going to call on this show?
And then your dark rock candy syrup.
Yes.
All of those sugars, the brown, the clear candy, the dark candy, the dark candy syrup.
15 minutes?
All last 15 minutes of the boil. Not the mash.
So
and as well as the turbinado.
Yes, and that also adds a nice kind of a rummy, kind of raisiny kind of a flavor along with the brown sugar. And, it's kind of fun, too, to just experiment, because I think this is where, as home brewers, we have a lot of tools and ingredients at our fingertips that, hey, why not? Let's try this and let's try that, and actually see how those flavors change. And, when you put stuff in, because it was actually interesting because a byproduct of the Trappist swap was some people put their syrup in at 60 minutes, some people put it in at 30, some people put it at 15, and all of them had a very, very different cherry component to it, and that was just how in which it was added and how much boiled off and the concentrations and the caramelizations in the boil. And
the other thing I want to talk about with the mash too is, and as I'm tasting your beer, maybe you can talk about this. You use the 5.2 pH stabilizer.
I did. So that's right when it first kind of came out, and this beer is was brewed. When was it? It was February 12th, 2006. So it actually is a little over a year and 4 months. But I wanted to really make sure that the pH was really pretty much right on with not using all the darker malts. I mean, there's the Cara Vienna, the Cara Munich, but I wanted to make sure that the stringency wasn't pulled out of the grains. I didn't use any chocolate or anything, but I wanted to have that little extra just to make sure, and just because also you think about this beer and your efficiency standpoint is really pretty important, because, if you're shooting, for that 11.3, and this just came just under 11 or just over 11%.
Yeah.
And that was before I put in the bottling sugars. So.
Okay. And I'm kind of thinking, as I look at all the different things that you added in the mash there too, why not? Put the 5.2 in there as almost a safety measure. You're kind of like, I just really don't want to do all this work and then mess up the pH.
Exactly. And I didn't put in what they recommended.
Okay. A little less.
I put a little less.
Okay.
So, because I heard from other people that they could actually start to taste it.
Okay. You can. It gets a little minerally.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was not because...
Did you check your pH?
I did.
And where's it right there?
5.2.
Right where it should be. Okay. And you use less. Okay, good to know.
So, but remember, the mash is doing that by itself.
Yeah.
And it has to do with what your strike water already has.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
the beer's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's. I gotta say something. I've had this before. I'd love it again.
Yeah.
It's very Sean-esque.
Oh.
His beers have a signature to them.
You taste like Sean?
They're very no, I haven't tried that. They're very complex.
Yeah.
I would love this after a big Italian meal.
Oh yeah.
This would go so awesome. This would go awesome with food.
Yeah.
This is a food beer.
And that's kind of how I brew a lot. I try to really rethink not only ingredients but also flavors, and I try to really step up from the ground up and really think about that foundational flavors that we're adding to our beers, and each ingredient has a purpose, and to really stop and really rethink what we're adding, when we're adding it, how that flavor is going to change, what percentage that is of the grist, and ultimately the end of that beer, and how you're tasting it after fermentation. Because to try this beer for the wort sample, it was like, wow.
Right.
I was stoked. I was really pleased.
I'm sure.
And then to put this yeast in, which, the 1762, it has this just wonderful fruitiness that comes out of it, but yet it really attenuates down really quite nicely, between 73 and 78. And to have it go, because I basically started at about 68, and I ramped it up to about 73, 75. I wasn't, I don't have perfect... temperature control like I wish, but yet, I think this is also where you start to rethink, the temperature of your house and how you can pull off certain beers at certain times of the year. And like I said, like this was done in February, so it was about right.
I might think about the next beer I brew.
Before you brew it,
based on your comments,
you want to plan a little something.
And think about, like, it's almost like cooking, and it's not just that, I'm the homebrew chef, but I really try to play with how you use an ingredient, and you think about, like, when you caramelize an onion, you're making it sweeter. You're bringing out a different complexity. You're bringing out some roastiness. A French onion soup would not be the same if you didn't caramelize those onions.
Yeah.
It'd be a completely different soup.
Yep.
And so, again, take that same principle and that same concept and how in which you put that into your beer, and I really walked away with the same philosophy when I was at the brewery.
Yeah.
These guys are just merciless to recreate the same beer and to spend the time.
All the time.
Because it's like, to brew 4 times in a week just to fill one conical. They can double production anytime. Really stop and think about this for a minute. They could go and produce all the beer in one day and take the rest of the week off.
Yeah, they could.
But they don't.
Yeah.
They spend that extra time of cleaning everything and everything else. And you look at how clean that brewery is. They use it 4 times a week.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And yet, look at what we're trying. Look at what we're tasting.
It's beautiful.
And that's really, to me, where it gets really exciting as a brewer, because here we have these pieces, and this is what really got me into brewing when I was a chef, is that I could have instant satisfaction with 2, 3, 4 hours worth of work, and boom, there's my plate, and I'm eating it.
And a good porn site, let's face it. Yeah,
instant satisfaction
right there.
Yeah,
and
can't give me no
satisfaction. Actually, has Vinny done a satisfaction beer?
No, we need to talk about the next
shun. Exactly, the next shun
beer.
Yeah.
But to really stop and think about, those flavors, and then here we can actually put in the whole fermentation piece, which is now we have, the primary or secondary if you want to do that, and ultimately how that beer is going to evolve and change. And that's what I love about brewing is that we take these base flavors and we combine them and we caramelize them, and we've, extracted, we want these kind of sugars, and so that the beer's dry, we want these so they're sweeter.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we can add these hops, and we can make it this bitter, we can bring out these flavors, and especially with all these new varieties that we're able to get, the citrusy.
That's why we brew.
And then you can really tweak it exactly what you want and what your palate craves.
Yeah.
And then at the end, boom, you're left with this just amazing beer that you made. And you can share with your friends like right now, and it's great because I just love how this beer tastes, and it's it's a fun sipping beer where there's a lot going on, and it really works all in a harmonious way together.
All right, before you start levitating over your chair and you finish over
I'm
there.
I'm a little excited.
As you should be. The beer is amazing. I want to give you the 2 things that I pick up that are different about your beer, and I still have the last Rochefort in front of me.
And you're the only one.
In fact,
I got some too.
Actually, I'll give the similarity first. You got the color right on. The color's awesome. Yours is a little more clear. Did you filter yours at all?
I do not have a filter.
You don't filter.
But I did age this.
It wouldn't have mattered because they did the bottle conditioning anyway. So
yeah, that's true. Okay.
Well, but I disagree with you, actually. I think bottle conditioning, it's been done for hundreds of years, and I know Jamil is a big component, and same with Jean Plissé about doing a counter pressure fill and this and that.
Yeah.
But yet, I think the flavor of the conditioning, because actually that's one thing we haven't really quite gotten to on this beer. I actually did a mix of sugars on this one.
Yeah.
I put in some turbinado sugar. I put in some of the rock candy syrup, and I think some of the clear Belgium candy.
Yep.
And
like
about
5.
2 ounces of each. And I would actually up that a little bit more next time because it is such a big beer. And I did add some fresh yeast to it as well. I didn't actually write that one down as far as how much fresh yeast I added.
No.
And it is a little tiny bit flat in comparison to the Rochefort.
That was my other comment.
It's very flat, but you know what? It's like a very enjoyable port.
Yeah,
I'm loving this. It's just like sitting down with a nice, enjoyable port. It's got a lot of different characters to it.
Well, what do you taste?
I got sherry. Mm-hmm. I've got dates and plums, and the cherry thing that comes really through.
Yeah, it's there all the way kind of through the flavor.
Yeah, the cherry comes through all the way. Yeah, and you didn't put any cherries in there.
No, there's no cherries.
A lot of cherry, a much more pronounced raisin and fig flavor than the Rochefort.
Yes.
Yours is it's just more.
But I wonder how.
Think about what I'm adding.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
But I wonder how it would be if it was carbonated to the same level.
And that would definitely change with the carbonic acid effect,
right,
and how it would drop it down a little bit.
Yeah, so it would lift it off the tongue, and
it wouldn't be quite as sweet.
And then in both your glass and my glass, we both still have a little bit of head retention left on our Rochefort.
Mm-hmm.
And this could just be the lack of carbonation in yours, but yours, 0 head whatsoever.
Yes,
no head. Sean gets no head.
And even when it was poured, was there no head then, too? Probably not.
There's just a tiny, tiny bit.
Just in the beginning. So Those are the
But
two.
that again is the real art of bottle conditioning.
Yeah,
I mean, it really
it's
does
tough.
show.
And when you have such a big beer like this, you got to compensate for a lot of stuff.
And how much yeast you add, and
that's another super compliment to the Rochefort that there's still some head left in our glass. These have been sitting here now for probably a half an hour in a high alcohol beer, and there's still
in a
foam,
warm room,
and there's foam on the top.
Exactly,
amazing. Like that is really an art to do that.
And when you're bottle conditioning, you got to think, well, I've got a high alcohol beer.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Am I going to add
a whole bunch of sugar,
fresh yeast, fresh yeast? But what kind of yeast am I going to do? Am I going to put the same yeast in,
a different yeast,
or if you really want to play your cards and get something in there, you got to put champagne yeast in there or something. But
that could dry it out too much.
Exactly.
And so, like, how much do you know your different yeast?
And that's going to dry it out too much. You're going to get some carbonation in there, but is it going to strip some flavors?
I've played
that you
around
don't want to have?
a lot with that lately because I've been really looking at the whole idea of not just using the same yeast. Because when I was at Delirium Tremens, when they make Delirium Tremens and the way that they get all those spices, because they're not adding a lot of spices, the general manager would not tell me what spices they actually used.
If you've never had Delirium Tremens, you got to try it.
Yeah, because they actually use 3 different yeast in the brewing process to get that flavor. So stop and really rethink about what flavor this yeast brings, what flavor that yeast brings, what attenuation this yeast brings, and combine them, almost like a symphony of all these different instruments, and how they're playing together, and that ultimate flavor profile. Because that's really where I think, again, as a home brewer, we can really experiment. And like I've been using a lot of different Belgium yeast that work really well at higher alcohols, and you get different flavors, and you actually get a different bubble formation, which is a really critical
this
piece.
whole thing about bottle conditioning, and that's like that third level of finishing your beer.
Big time.
You can come up with all kinds of different combinations to get what you want, or maybe not what you want coming out of it. You could dry it out too much. Yeah. You could lose all those cool flavors that you've been trying to get in there.
Yep.
You get the carbonation, but you don't get any of those figs and the sweetness to balance it out. It's
the
just
good
too
stuff
dry.
You want.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I want to point out as I'm looking in your recipe that people should know about is that you also used 2 different types of, it looks like one yeast nutrient. You use Cervomyces yeast nutrient.
Yes. I think that they have a really good zinc profile on that one, but I usually do add a little bit of the Y yeast nutrient as well.
And that's in your boil also?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, I try to give those yeasts as much as I can to make them healthy. And actually, the one thing that I've really noticed in my brewing, at least, is that the Cervomyces, even though I know the Trappist people don't really quite use those, but what I find is that I get a much better attenuation on my beers.
Yeah.
I always do a starter. I always have a pretty healthy starter and a stir plate. And
2,000 ml starter on this one you have here.
It was big.
Yeah.
But also, I really wanted a big chunk of yeast, because it's such a big beer.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful head on this thing. And
OG was 10,106 or 1106.
Yes, 1106. So it was a little higher than theirs.
That's not that big.
But
like my 1200.
It certainly points out the need to do that big yeast starter and to put a little yeast nutrient in there too.
Exactly.
Which is why I want to make sure we
is really, really important. And also to think about like how much yeast you're pitching, and Jamil's calculator on MrMalty.com.
It's awesome.
That's an awesome.
Yeah.
Because I've actually used that for some of my barrel beers because it's just like, when you start thinking about a 12-13% barley wine, it's like, okay, I need 54 packs of yeast. Okay, let's really rethink this for a minute.
I can't buy 54 packs of yeast.
Well, I can, but let me tell you, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
We can grow 54 packs of yeast.
We can, but even then, that's a lot of work. It's like,
We just brew a beer.
All right, so all of this stuff that we're talking about, because we're not reading through the whole recipe here, and we don't need to. You can find it all on homebrewchef.com. It's his Rochefort 10 clone, and you can just click on that.
And there's a whole step mesh that I do on there. And
well, that I do want to talk about, but first, so 1106 was your OG, and then you finished off at 1022, so your yeast was good. It was really healthy, and it got down there. We mentioned earlier you did do a 90-minute boil, just like they do. Your hop additions here, we already talked about earlier too that you did not do the 80-minute edition.
No.
You did a 60-minute. You used Kent Goldings.
I used Kent Goldings, and I was trying to think a little bit. I was actually trying to find the Styrian Goldings, and they were actually hard to find. So Not that that's maybe the one that they use, but that's what I wanted to use, and I couldn't quite find that one. And,
would Strissel Spalt been better?
Strissel Spalt actually are a lower alpha acid, so those are only 1.2, 1.8.
Yeah.
And they actually have a really great black currant flavor, which actually would be really interesting in this beer. But you would have to use a lot more.
Of course.
I've done.
If you can find them too.
You can actually. NorthernBrewer.com has them.
The internet's nice.
It is nice, and because also they do sell them in a pound bag, and I did a saison once with a whole pound of those, and let me tell you, it was just right, and there was a black currant flavor, and it was really quite tasty.
So if you haven't brewed with Strissel Spalt,
play with it.
All right.
It's a nice little French hop.
So also along with your 60 of Kent, you used Hallertau for 60 minutes also.
I did.
And again
it's
for
a
30.
noble hop.
Yeah.
Noble.
The one that Doc picked out, by the way.
It's a noble hop.
That would be a good one. And then you also, you put in the coriander seed for 15 minutes of your boil.
I did, and that kind of, again, helps just, because Papazian talks a little bit about using a teaspoon of cinnamon in all of his mashes.
Okay.
And again, that try to gets a little bit more of that flavor to it, and also just a stability, because actually the cinnamon, after the boil, it's pretty much gone. I mean, I don't think you can ever detect it in his beers.
There's a lot of stuff in cinnamon that we don't know about.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And also to really rethink, because, you think about Indian food, it's all basically a pharmaceutical cuisine. Every, cumin has its own flavor, but it also has its own property, as well as coriander and everything else. The reason why they give you those candied-coated fennel seeds at the end of the meal is it actually helps aid digestion, and you've had a lot of starch and stuff. So,
and all Belgian beers are supposed to do the same, actually, a little digestion aid as well.
Exactly, because that's one thing that I love about Belgian beers is you can have 10, 15 in a night, on a tasting, and
10 or 15 in a night. What the?
Well, not
you're an animal.
Full glass, but you're sharing with other people, and but you don't feel bloated at the end of the we might feel a little loopy, but that's
but not bloated, and that's important.
It's different, God, but that's different.
All right, let's talk about your mash. We talked about what's in there, and I want to talk about your mash schedule because we mentioned the step mashing earlier. So you have gluten rest at 135 for 30 minutes.
Yes,
you sit it there. Doc, you got to do it for that long?
You don't have to.
20 to 30 is usually good.
Okay.
You also got to realize that you got ramp up time for the next one too.
Yeah.
So
do you include that in the 30 minutes?
I pretty much have a timer set for 30. When it goes off, I re-hit up the heat.
You ramp up.
And I double check the temperature periodically through the mash to make sure it's an even temperature.
Okay.
Give it a good stir here and there.
Yeah, I start at 30 or 20, and then I don't get around to it till 30.
Yeah,
because I'm doing other things in the brewery while I'm.
Things are going. You're doing other things.
Yeah,
shooting up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm scrubbing the floor. I'm polishing the copper.
Saying hi to the kids.
Yes.
And now this
Sometimes
is also
I'm feeding them breakfast. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
This is also a decoction mash that you did.
Yes, I actually did a decoction with this one because I wanted to really emphasize the malt and the complexity of the malt.
It's a gluten for punishment.
I am. And also that's one thing that's really great. So basically at the bottom of this recipe, and actually all my recipes on there all have a Beersmith file and also an HTML file that you can actually download for a brew sheet.
Okay.
So that's all ready to go for you if you ever want to try any of my recipes. But the idea on this one was to really get that extra malt complexity in. What's great too
Which
about
you got?
Beersmith, I know that ProMash also does this, but it actually tells you exactly how much grist to pull out to warm up, and once you bring it to a boil, and it is, I have done it probably 60, 70 times now, and it is just balls on, correct temperature every time.
Okay. So you did pull off for decoctions. We'll let we'll let everybody look at the sheet for that. But your next rest was up at 145. That was your beta rest.
Yep.
And then you did that for 30 minutes again. Then
and
you did
just kind of starts it off because remember with your beta, it usually takes up to almost up to 2 hours, depending because it's such a low temperature, and to really make sure you have full conversion. And I just wanted to make sure that would help dry out the beer a little bit.
Okay.
I know that I had the 20% sugar on it, but yet I really wanted to make sure that the yeast could still, break down the sugar and also the maltose, because that was a real big critical thing for me was to make sure that it didn't get us stuck in fermentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like all of you out there.
Then you went up to 165 for what you call here a full beta rest for 30 minutes. What's
Correct.
the difference between your beta rest and a full beta rest?
It was actually, I think that's just how the program actually works it out, and I probably should change it.
I get a lot of questions on that. I send somebody something as this mash, you call it this. Well, that's just what the program called it.
I see. So what would you have actually
I
called
call it a
this
mash
rest?
out at that point.
Mash out, pretty much.
Now, you mashed out at 172.
I did bring it up to 172 just to make sure I got everything because, again, I mean, it was a lot of grain. There's a lot of caramel malts in that. I have the date sugar in that as well, and I really wanted to make sure at that point everything was as bestly converted as possible. Because I usually get about an 80% efficiency on my system.
Yeah, that's great.
So...
Okay, so just for clarification, you then went up to 165 for 30 minutes,
and I did that pretty slow too. I mean, I brought it really slowly up there.
Okay.
It was a decoction, but yet, I did that part of the mash because how much of the mash was in there in that one? It was like 4 quarts, 5 quarts.
7.4.
7.4 quarts. So, I did that very, very slowly, even though it was the thick part, leaving most of the enzymes in the liquid. But I really wanted to make sure that the caramelization was nice and slow, so it wasn't like a full flame.
Okay. And then finally, you did your mash out at 172, and that was just under 4 quarts there.
Yeah, so it was pretty quick. So
that one, okay. And then I have here, for your bottling, just because you mentioned it earlier, that you added 2 ounces of rock candy, 2 ounces of the turbinado sugar, and 2 ounces of the dark candy.
Yeah, that's right. 2 ounces of John Palmer went in this batch.
Yes, of the rock candy. I'll tell you what, this is an amazing looking recipe, and the beer came out great too.
But also, again, just to really get back to the conceptual side of brewing and really rethink what you're tasting in those flavors, and as brewers and as we have more and more experience, to think about, okay, Special B gives this flavor, Caramunit gives that flavor, Caramel 40L gives that flavor, 60L gives this flavor, and then to go back and forth and understand, I always try to go with the grains from that origin or from that brewery that they use. Castle Pils, I think, is a wonderful, wonderful malt. I think it just had such a great balance, and you get the attenuation. Where a Wireman, I think you get a lot more of that flavor, and it's perfect for a Pilsner, but it's not for a triple.
Yeah, it's a little more grainy.
Exactly. And that difference you can't recreate or take away any other way.
Yeah.
Except for using those grains. And on our scale, it's no big deal. Really,
sure.
What's an extra $2 in this beer?
What's a whole different batch?
A slab of cheese.
You didn't get exactly what you wanted to, so the next time, and the next time you got to try it again.
Exactly.
So.
All right, so with that in the air, I would like to know what you would change about this beer to if you wanted to try to do another clone.
I want more carbonation in this thing.
Yes, and actually I would like to brew this again with a more carbonation because I think it would be kind of fun because I think it is really close.
Mm-hmm.
It's an awesome beer any way you look at it.
Oh, you're too kind, Doc.
Oh,
so you wouldn't change the recipe at all? You just carbonate it more?
I would carbonate for this particular beer. I think it's close, but I would like to really try to brew. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse you. To how they do it with ingredients that they use in Rochefort to use, the base malt and then the mid-range caramel malt and to use the sugar and to really rethink your saccharification temperature and how in which it's converting to do the 3-step infusion versus a decoction and then to use those hops and I think you'd really get something really because also again that base will really showcase the yeast which it deserves a lot of respect.
Yeah.
I think yeast really do an amazing part, whether it's cheese, whether it's pickles. Fermentation is just a huge factor that, really, I think that's where the art of brewing comes in. And, Rochefort really talked a lot about the art of brewing, and it was really inspiring. And I do think about what they do and, the color with these programs that we use, ProMash, Beersmith, you can actually really get that color pretty very as close as you can to what those beers actually are.
Yeah, some parts of it, because of those programs, are really made easy to us, and color is one of them, that's for sure.
I mean, I used to do the whole calculation before, but man, this just makes it so easy, and it's a great way to brew in the sense that you can actually add this, add that, take this away, take that away, and then you just start thinking about the flavors and what those flavors taste like, and how in which they work together or they work apart, and really what flavors you want your beer to taste like.
Yeah.
Because this is where, you take it beyond just the beginning and into the more advanced, because this is what you're looking for as far as a flavor and not just as a style, because I don't always agree with, entering all your beers in competition, because there's just certain beers that, are never going to do well in a competition.
Like mine?
Like Sean.
Is that what you mean by certain beers?
You mean like all of Sean.
I see what you're getting at.
I mean, I've entered in, like I just did
that's a whole different thing here.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I mean, there's nothing wrong with competitions, don't get me wrong. I respect people who can do those beers perfectly to style. I mean, I think that is a wonderful, wonderful piece of brewing, and I think it's a huge accomplishment, because that's dedication, that's a lot of time spent, and really understanding what you're doing and that focus. But yet, to really think about okay, I like to thank my mother.
No, I don't think any of Sean's beers actually
would do well.
Mine don't do well. Yours don't. We're
God's interfering with this, Doc.
We're happy brewing what we want to brew, and
think about what you want to taste and what you want to share.
Right, or where you want to go.
Why don't you guys just hug?
We hug a
Get
lot.
it over with.
We hug a lot.
Just hug.
But it's really strange. He's
Don't
like
be
a foot
jealous.
taller than me.
JP, you look like you had a question on your face. Were you going to comment or question?
I was just thinking, have you tried brewing these without a step mash?
I have not actually
because
done
I will
the side by
bet
side.
you $20 to come out the same.
You think so?
I bet it wouldn't.
Ooh, that's a mash brew off.
Well, no, without
because
just
I don't think a step mash is. You don't need a step mash.
Okay.
Why?
But I think
why?
Don't make me
because
come
of the
over
malt. Because the.
So are you telling me that Gummer Santos doesn't know what he's talking about?
No, and I'll tell you why. That's a good point.
You're talking about Dr. Scott.
Bring it on.
What are you talking about?
Because
slow down, everybody. Go ahead, JP.
They've done it for 400 years, right? I mean, they still use a grant. They still do the thing. They still do all this stuff. That they've
so you don't have a grant in your brewery?
I can finish if you want. If you want.
You want me to mute them?
They've been doing all this other stuff for so long, they're not going to change the way they want to do it. They brought some guy in to tell them, hey, to teach them, like if I brought you in, Jay, like, hey, do this way because of this. Oh, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it. That's why you got hired, is because you would not want to change stuff.
So you think
I don't think
because
it
of the-
does anything, and I don't think as a home brewer you need to do a step mash for anything.
But that's because, like, the basis of your argument is because of the way the grains are modified now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, okay.
I don't think you need it.
My comment on that is you can go from really good beer to great beer by employing different things. It's different tools in your toolbox, and there's certain beers that are going to need different tools.
Yeah, if you're doing a pale ale,
if you're happy about the way you brew, and you brew clean, you brew good, you
no infection,
no infection, good recipe, you're going to brew really good beer. But if you want to really spike up in these different categories and these different kinds of beers, you're going to need to pull something out of your hat, the magic hat, and do something different. You don't need to do a step mash in every kind of brew. You just don't. You're not going to need it in your English IPAs. You're not going to need it.
But you say on this one you would.
I would. On this, it's a very complex beer.
Let me ask you this, JP. Yeah. When you say that we wouldn't notice a difference, do you mean someone like me, a more amateur palate, wouldn't notice a difference, or do you think that even if we put a blind in front of Paxton and Doc, one that was stepped and one that was normal, that they wouldn't notice the difference?
I would. That's a good. I would say no. I don't think they would.
That even a very trained palate.
I mean, I've had beers that have been side by side, the same recipe, step and not, and there's no.
This is
I have
so
not
hard to prove.
Okay,
I know.
Because
it's very hard.
That's why it's kind of fun. That's why it's kind of fun to put out
same
there
brewer
at the same
has to brew it side by side, the same exact thing, and I've given brewers the same recipe. 10 of them.
It'll never be the same.
It's never the same, and all kinds of stuff come across there. So it's not a good experiment to say what's side by side and what's better.
No, and I mean I'm not trying to say that doing step mash is wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you don't. I'm just saying you don't really need it.
No,
I think there's too much emphasis put on the step mash and not enough about the right balance of sugars and the right balance of ingredients. That's much more important, I think, to the overall feel of the beer.
Recipe development
than the step mash.
But I think a step mash is one of your advanced tools. It's not something you have to make good beer, and you shouldn't even be employing it until you're at that point. At that level, you don't need to do to water analysis till you're at that point. You don't really need to deal with grain to grain until you're at that point. What's the difference between one Pilsner and another Pilsner? You really don't. That's advanced tools. You can make awesome beer and not have to add these advanced tools. But once you get to that point, where are you going to go? Yeah. So we start stretching out for certain things. Recipe formulation, step mashing, decoction mashing, different sugars, all kinds of stuff to get us there. Yeah. And that's what keeps this whole industry or this whole hobby going.
Because we can do more. I agree.
We can do something extra. We can do something more. But you don't need that to brew great beer.
I agree with all of that. However, the statement that was made, which is what I'm really trying to stick to you, JP, not in a mean way, is that we wouldn't notice the difference, and that's an interesting thing.
Who would notice the difference?
But okay, the royal we. I mean, your average Joe beer drinker.
Yeah. But here's an interesting piece.
I haven't thought about it.
Or your nationally recognized judge.
But even Matt Brynildson, all of his beers, he does a step mash. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to. He does it because it's a drinkability factor. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in brew pubs, not necessarily the 21st Amendment.
Mm-hmm. 563 2nd Street.
Thank you. But the idea that how many beers can you drink in a row and not feel bloated? Or feel bloated? Because that's one thing that I struggle with, because I think a single infusion mash does make a more bloatness. I don't know if that's really a word, but you feel more bloated after.
You get satiated, where you just don't want another beer.
Yeah, because you're full.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
I think
who's ever felt that way.
And as a commercial brewer, you don't want to be doing that.
And I think that's one thing, because like I said, I went to 16 different breweries, and every single one of them does a step mash. And I think that was a really interesting piece, because each one of those
beers, to be said for that.
I can drink a whole bunch of them, and it was more the alcohol and just like, I am toast, versus I just cannot drink another beer. I mean, there was one night where 6 of us sat down with 42 Belgiums after drinking beer all day long, polished off every single one, and then we went into some home brew from a guy from Belgium that we were staying with, and Paul was just making some real fun beers. And, I mean, we were just having this amazing time, and we weren't bloated.
I don't think that's a reason to do a step mash.
I think it might be.
If you think about
secret,
there's a lot of brewers out there that are doing Belgians that aren't doing step mashes.
I think we knock him on the head.
If you translate that,
I had to do it to
that's
you.
Fair,
it's only fair.
No,
if you translate that statement right there.
Yeah.
All right, we're taking a break.
Besides, there's 2 of us on this side of the bench, and there's only one of you.
It's been this way my whole life, Scott. I'm all right with it.
Chat's in the middle.
I do respect your opinion, JP, and I think that is a really valid point, because I mean it's an extra tool, like Doc's saying, and I do think that it's a different perspective.
And it's good that there's somebody here that respects your opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
I respect
I don't know.
it, JP.
I just felt like I had to say it because I've done it. I've never been able to tell the difference in my beers and nor other people's beers that I've drinking. So
I didn't say you couldn't brew great beer.
You have.
Without a step mash, but it's a tool in your toolbox.
I just don't think it does anything.
I think it does. I really do. It can really work the mash to your advantage.
Where's Rochefort Limbaugh when you need him?
I love it. Good discussion. Fantastic discussion, and we'll talk about it a little more when we come back, and we'll wrap up the entire Rochefort topic that we've been doing today. Any questions that you have to brew this beer yourself at home? 888-401-BEER.
Yeah, we've had nobody call in.
Or you can join JP in the chat room and send your questions over that way. So hang in there, everybody. We're going to wrap things up when we get back.
Well, beer, we've had some great times. When I was 17, I
I drank some very good beer. I drank some very good beer I purchased with a bank ID. My name was Brian McGee. I stayed up listening to Queen when I was 17.
So many things that I want to say, and the words they're not coming out right. Don't cry, little darling, come and take my hand. I want to show you something special tonight. I want to share my feelings, I want to show my love. I want to give you a dirty Sanchez. I want to throw you a donkey punch. I want you to give me a Cleveland steamer. Would you like a jelly donut and a hot lunch? Have you ever had an angry dragon? A blumpkin, have you ever known? I want my dog in your bathtub, and you can play my rusty trombone. Well, a stranger with a western grip can take a golden shower, and tossing a salad with a purple mushroom could get you pretty flowers. A carpet cleaner and a chili dog make everything alright. And my favorite thing that's going on, there's a Compton gangbang tonight. I want a girl that'll do a hot car roll. I want to give you a dirty Sanchez. I want to throw you a donkey punch. I want you to give me a Cleveland steamer. Would you like a jelly donut and a hot lunch? Have you ever ridden on a glass-bottom boat? A blumpkin, have you ever known? I want my dog in your bathtub, and you can play my rusty trombone. Arabian goggles, brown neckties and corkscrews, teabagging, dirty swirly, flying Amazon, flood the cave, flying camel, muff teaser, New York style taco, Bismarck. I want to give you a dirty Sanchez. I want to throw you a donkey punch. I want you to give me a Cleveland steamer. Would you like a jelly donut and a hot lunch? Have you ever had an angry dragon? A blumpkin, have you ever known? I want my dog in your bathtub. You can play my rusty trombone.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube, from a gang called Niggers with Attitude. When I'm called off, I gotta saw it off. Squeeze a trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you fuck with me, police are gonna have to come and get me off your ass. That's how I'm going out. For the punk motherfuckers, it's showing out. Niggas start to mumble, they wanna rumble, mix 'em and cook 'em up in a pot like gumbo. Going off on a motherfucker like that with a gat that's pointed at your ass. So give it up smooth, ain't no telling when I'm down for a jack move. Here's a murder rap to keep you dancing, with a crime record like Charles Manson. My AK-47 is a tool, don't make me act a motherfucking fool. Maybe you can go toe-to-toe, maybe I'm knocking niggas out the box daily, weekly, yo, monthly and yearly, until them dumb motherfuckers see clearly that I'm down with a capital CPT. You can't fuck with me, so when I'm in your neighborhood you better duck, 'cause Ice Cube is crazy as fuck. As I leave, believe I'm stomping, but when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton. Coming straight out of Compton.
www.thebrewingnetwork.com.
Sit down next to it, grab yourself a paper towel, and watch those yeast have sex.
You're listening to the Brewing Network.
And now back to the Brewcasters.
The Brewcasters.
On the Brewing Network.
Yeah.
Can I pull my balls out so they can dry off, please?
Do it. It's hot in here. It's getting warm.
I thought they were so sucked up into your cavity that we wouldn't have to worry about them.
I sent some hairy gum. Do you ever...
Is that hairy gum in your crotch? Or,
Sorry about that. I said...
Man. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap things up here. We've got a couple of more things to talk about. A couple of tree things to talk about.
A couple of tree.
And we're going to finish that up, and we're going to call it a night. I got a bunch to do. I'm leaving for NHC bright and early.
Let you meal early?
Yes.
Oh, it's bad.
The cool thing is, it's actually it's not. I had to make him push it back for the sake of the BN Army, and I'm happy to be doing this. I'm picking up as many shirts as they could get done for me on short notice, so that I can have some to sell to folks at NHC.
You carry them on your back in a pouch or something?
Yeah, whatever I got to do, because I know that people are going to see those new shirts walking around and go, "Dude, where can I get one of those? They're awesome." Hey,
bring them to the booth. We'll if you want to make the booth, the B3 booth, your base camp. Definitely, we'll put them up.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't even have one of those.
I'll be doing that.
Suckers.
Neither do I. So don't worry.
We're good. We'll wear something else.
So yeah, I got to pick some of those up in the morning, and then I got to head out to Elk Grove in my windowless truck. And
in the morning.
In the morning.
Cold and frigid.
Cold. I got a big jacket. And, yeah, what the hell?
I like how we're all standing except Doc.
Well, because everyone's nuts have been sweating it for 3 hours now.
I got
to shake it off.
I got old nuts.
You and Sully would be sitting down right now.
Oh, we don't sweat.
Old nuts don't sweat.
Nah, they don't.
Oh. That's something to look forward to, actually.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's quite comfortable.
I won't hang myself this year, then.
Does that mean I can shower even less than I do now when I get old, Doc?
Not around me.
No.
No!
Because that's the only part I worry about. Arlene, welcome to the studio. Glad you're hanging out over there. Speaking of balls, any babies coming out yet? Nothing, huh? She jumped up and down, she says. She was trying. Well...
Contact.
Yeah, maybe do that again when we're all looking this time, and we'll see if that baby can come out.
I got scorecards.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to wrap up the Belgian discussion, the Rochefort clone discussion, and we've done a pretty good job of summarizing the thing already. So if you guys have any questions, 888-401-BEER, or you can also join us in the chat room. I do have one phone. Is it a phone call I got right now?
Yeah, you got a phone call.
I got a phone call with a fantastic question. This is from Pete. Pete, what's happening, my brother?
Hey, not much. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to have you on the show.
Good. Sorry about the truck, man.
Hey, it sucks, man. You know what? It's we are in a world of douchebags, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
What can you do?
You know what? The douchebag got the worst of it. He broke into your truck, and he found nothing.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets caught.
I haven't called the police yet. I mean, maybe they arrested him right then. Maybe they caught him. I don't know.
There's video and all those.
Yeah, and his home insurance will probably pay for your truck.
It was probably JP.
The best part is, he's probably still poor too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's your question, Pete?
Well, I've been an all-grain brewer for a couple years now, and just lately I've been interested in extracts, and you guys have been talking on the air about doing all-grain step mashes and how drinkable they are, and the whole debate and all that.
Yeah.
Now, is extract, is it real drinkable itself? Can you make a real good drinkable beer, like you can have a 6-pack easy?
Now, do you mean beer in general or a Rochefort?
Or just a stronger beer?
Or just mean a beer made with extract?
Yeah, well, we could talk about Rochefort,
Now, let's start with that, just for the sake of organization. Can we make a Rochefort clone with extract that would come close? What do you think?
Well, the one thing, you have to rethink about your ingredients again, and, that malt has been, the saccharification temperature you cannot change on that extract. So whatever that was done,
it is what it is.
That's the body, even with the extra sugar, is still going to be the body, unless you're adding something like with the not Carafoam, Carapils, that kind of stuff.
I would say you could probably get something decent if you were careful and you knew what you were doing about what you can mash, what you can't mash, because you got to put extra grains in there. But if you're going to try to do something exactly, you're not going to get there with just with an extract.
Because, I mean, we're really talking about like the last 5-10% of the beer. I mean, you think about like 60% of it, it's going to be good. You know, if it's clean, it's not infected, the hop balance is right, you have the right flavor components. I mean, it's going to be there. But we're talking like that last 5-10%, that finishing, that making sure it's dry enough, and what flavors come out of that with that extra attenuation. And I mean, it's just a little tiny.
And a lot of that stuff needs to be done in the mash.
Okay. So, no, maybe
so
not an
answering
exact
the
Rochefort.
question.
No, you answered. I think you did answer the question. Now I want to move it back to beer in general, and I want to start by saying, you know, we've done shows on this before. I absolutely think that you can make fantastic extract beer.
Yes, you can.
And,
I'm looking
part
forward
of it
to
is
John
because,
and Jamil's book.
In fact, especially if you're like me and you're a shitty all-grain brewer, the people who made those extracts are not shitty all-grain brewers. They're fantastic all-grain brewers, and they've done. You can pretty much assume, if you're getting it from a good source, that they've done a great job. If you're getting it from we've talked about this as an important part, if you're getting it from a homebrew shop who moves a lot of extract, and rather than sitting on it for, you know, months at a time where it gets stale and kind of ugly, producer Shat here has done nothing but extract over here because we can't convince the sissy boy to move over to all grain. But you know what? He's made some great beers, and they don't have the twang that is associated. That I would actually say that used to be associated with extracts. And yes, you can brew good beer.
You know, I got something to say about that. It's if the extract brewers really took into consideration to know all the extracts, like the all-grain brewers know all the grains. They know what kind of grain's going to give them what. If you are I'm going to only be an extract brewer, you're going to go into this, and you knew all the different extracts and what they're going to give you, you could predictably brew a certain beer and make an awesome beer. But a lot of times it's like, I'm just going to throw some extract in there, and that's the wild card. You're not going to know what you're going to get.
But actually, you bring up a really great point, because actually to spend the time to get to know not only your Alexander, but your Coopers and all your other malt extracts, I mean, to really understand, okay, this gives this flavor, this gives this flavor, this gives this flavor, and then to understand how to use those to your advantage with each style you brew, I think is a real kind of a fun point, taking that a little bit further. I mean, I'm hoping that John and Jamil's book really starts playing with that whole thing.
That would be great if somebody really took the time to really know their extracts, and they go a third of this extract, a third of that extract, and a third of that.
Anybody blending with extracts, or are they just using one? Because I know like more beer has a lot more extracts now. You get a Pilsner one and this and that. But to really do a side-by-side comparison with a Pilsner like as a style, and then to play with that malt, and then to play with like the lightest other malt from the closest competitor, and just to really see.
You're blending grains, you're blending extracts. That would be awesome.
Yep.
And you could do that.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Pete?
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. I've been using B3's extract. You know, you're gonna have to pay me for that, though. You know.
I'll talk to Chris Graham. A check's in the mail.
All right.
Oh.
But, you know, I mean, they've talked about their extract being real good, and it's got a good turnaround. And
that's really what they mention, is that they move a lot of everybody knows that, because they sell just a lot of kits. They move a lot of extracts. So at the very least, you can assume it's fresh. At the best, you can assume they get it from good suppliers. So do you remember the suppliers, JP, of the name?
The supplier is Alexander.
Supplier. It's Alexander's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they move it so fast that you know it's always going to be fresh.
Again.
Which is really great.
So,
now, is that a drier extract?
It depends on which one.
Or is that more of a medium?
It depends. Honestly, it depends on what batch it is.
Right.
Sometimes it goes. I mean, it's not a super exact science.
There you go.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Pete.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Yep, thanks a lot.
Cool.
Love the show.
Thank you. There you go.
Should I have said that?
888-401-BEER.
I don't think I should have said that.
You'll find out Monday.
Yeah. Sales have stopped. Jason, what happened? I don't know.
888-401-BEER. You can join us in the chat room if you got any last questions. One thing I wanted to talk about, as you guys are contemplating if you got anything to ask about, is Paxton brought in a cool device here, and I think he brought it in for Doc, because Doc gets bored easy.
I want to play with chemicals.
Sean, you should be using gloves, dude.
Brought in this liquid nitrogen deal.
Oh, come on. It's only 320 degrees below zero.
It's like it's a jug of liquid nitrogen, and what we're doing
We're making
is
stuff.
Later we're going to make ice cream with it, I guess. But right now
He's
we're
making ice cream now.
Here you can hear it. That's it boiling at over 300 degrees below zero. And it probably just froze my microphone on top of it.
Yeah. That's good nitrogen.
So here's the other thing that he brought that for is not just the ice cream that we're going to make later, but he made this special blend of stuff that's a palate cleanser. And tell us the ingredients of your palate cleanser.
So basically, this is not, I changed the recipe a little bit, but the idea of this was the Fat Duck in England, which is a #2 restaurant right now in the world. They're playing around with molecular gastronomy, and the idea is to take what we already know and then just change it and understand the chemistry behind what we're doing. So with that, you can actually change and get new concepts and flavors and ideas. And this particular idea is a palate cleanser, so it's like an intermezzo. And a lot of times, traditionally, they would give you a sorbet.
Yeah.
And in that, they would have like a lavender or something else. What I did is I took what the Fat Duck did, which was a lime juice, and I took lime juice, and I also took some Meyer lemon juice and also some variegated lemon, which is the pink lemons.
Mm-hmm.
And juice those together, and then you add some water and some sugar, and you bring it to a boil. Then you basically cut it off the heat. You add some malonic acid, which is a powdered chemical you can use for wine making or mead making.
Okay.
And then you basically put that in, and you infuse it with some green tea leaves. And at that point, once it's cool, you filter out the green tea leaves, and you put in. I did a homemade citron vodka that I made. Which
That's illegal.
Shh, I know. I didn't say that.
I think having this liquid nitrogen is probably illegal too.
Somebody else said that. And then a little bit of gelatin and just a tiny, tiny bit of egg whites, and you put that into a whipped cream canister with nitrous oxide and. Yeah.
If you're looking to arrest us, we're at 563 2nd Street, just 2 blocks from AT&T Park.
Drinking what? Out of a can?
Watermelon wheat.
And basically, once that's done, then you basically put that into a spoon after you've shaken up really well and refrigerated it. And then you can put it onto a spoon, and it almost looks kind of like a foam, like a whipped cream.
A meringue, almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, very much like a meringue. And scrape that into the liquid nitrogen, and it'll actually freeze it and actually make like a little tiny
pastille
disc kind of, canal shaping.
Doc, do you want to finish his speech?
Actually, I kind of like it. He's like the Beastie Boy of cooking. He just throws in the end of every sentence.
I know where he's going, man.
I almost gave you some of that. But so basically, what it does is it freezes, and the idea behind it is to rethink how your palate works.
Yeah.
So the vodka and the lemon juice are actually going to work together to scrub your tongue of any fats and oils and stuff that have accumulated on your tongue. It's now going to refreshen all those. Mm-hmm. The malonic acid is actually going to help make you salivate. And as you start to salivate, again, you're cleansing your tongue. The third component is the green tea, and the green tea is actually going to help with making you hungry again, because when you do a 12-course meal or a 10-course meal, you're getting full. Your palate's been assaulted all night long. You're trying all these different tastes, and at the end of it, you kind of want like a break. And this is like actually it prolongs the end, and it actually helps you say, okay, yeah, I actually can make it.
So as JP pointed out at one of the breaks, it's a lot like the cousin. It makes you hungry. It makes you a little thirsty.
It's a legal cousin.
It's a semi-legal.
But it only works on your tongue.
Yeah, doesn't make you feel good, but your tongue is really great.
It's a good tongue.
That's why I drink sour beers. Like if I'm drinking a lot of beer and I can do a sour beer, the 5th or 6th beer in, like, dude.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. In fact, we've mentioned on the show, because I didn't realize it was kind of a standard palate cleanser, but it is.
Really?
I mentioned it, and people who know a lot more than I do said, yeah, it's a great palate cleanser, because I think one of the things JP's talking about, the salivation.
Sean.
That's what I said, Sean Paxton.
Okay.
Yes.
What'd I say?
JP.
Whatever. So you drink the lambic. It makes you salivate. That'll clear it. The tartness, all the sour, that'll clear it. Everything. So sour beer is a great thing. Yeah. But if you got a jar of liquid nitrogen hanging around, you can do that. That was it boiling again.
Ladies and gentlemen, wear gloves and safety goggles.
Safety glasses. I have them in the car. I just didn't bring them in.
It's like right next to, $10,000 worth of equipment.
Well, never mind his fingers.
Yeah. That too. He's just
years and years of things. Or my 600 gallons of ice cream.
Or my $10,000 pallet.
Paxton, where does one get a jar of liquid nitrogen?
Well, first you need a special container. It's called a dewar, and they're kind of expensive.
Dewar? Okay. I damn near killed her.
Sorry. That was good. Wow.
It's not bad.
So once you get that, the liquid nitrogen it's only like $2 or so for about 10 liters, and it's basically air that we breathe is 78%.
I see.
Or nitrogen. And as we liquefy it, it compresses and it actually gets ultra cold, 320 degrees below zero. And just in that, you think about dry ice is 109 degrees below zero, so there's a radical difference.
Yeah.
You can actually freeze alcohol, which is really cool.
What's that in Kelvin?
I don't have Kelvin, but
it's just so cool.
What can you do with that? I don't know.
Can you do anything else with it? Can you shoot it up or anything? Can you snort it? Can you smoke it?
You have to be very, very safe. I mean, JP is right.
See?
I mean, this can seriously burn you.
Okay.
It can really. I don't know if it's going to give hypothermia, but it's going to leave a burn.
Okay.
It could freeze your nads.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I mean,
I don't need them anyway.
I'm not going to go there. But what's kind of fun with it is that you can actually freeze alcohol. So let's just say that you take 1.5 ounces of bourbon.
Yeah.
And you freeze that.
Yeah.
And once it's completely rock solid, it's going to be rock solid for about 20 seconds.
Chill shots.
So if you were to have that into your glass, and then you're going to add your sweet vermouth and a little bit of maraschino cherry, if you want to use just a drop of that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to make your good old Manhattan, and basically tableside, instead of using rocks, you're using your alcohol.
Right.
Let's say pour that right on, and it's actually going to dissolve into it and make a drink backwards.
Okay, what if, hypothetically speaking,
right now,
I need to cleanse my palate.
I wanted to initiate producer Shat into the crew here, and I happen to have a bottle of imported Russian vodka in my cupboard that was brought by a certain pilot who belongs to the BN Army.
Who doesn't work for them?
Who does? And we
doesn't work for the government.
And we dropped that in there, and then Shat consumed it within 20 seconds. It would be a rock of frozen
and it melts on your tongue, and it tastes completely different.
Let's do it.
Bring it on.
Shat, go get that thing.
Why don't you find the hypothetical bottle of Russian vodka, Shat, and let's get you into the family here.
Rock,
really
Shat.
Shat, now for this purpose, let's just use water.
Don't no
hypothetical water.
The big old wink water.
Bring that bottle in here. It says Baltica on it or something like that. It's actually there. It is. That's the good stuff right there. Doc, have a smell of that because I haven't had it yet, but it's a nice taste of vodka. Give it a whiff. Tell me if you think that's I smelt it. It was like a premium vodka, like a Grey Goose kind of thing. It was really a nice clean. So now we're going to do a little drop of that right down into the liquid nitro. And initiate producer Shat to the family. So what's going to happen here? You're going to drop that thing in there.
Frozen vodka stand.
And he'll have to have it really quick, right? Like within 20 seconds or it will defrost. Is that what you're saying?
Thereabouts. I mean, it's going to hit your tongue and it's going to be cold. I mean, you do have to be careful. I mean, you can't burn yourself.
Probably be the easiest shot you ever did, Shat, because it's not going to dissolve until it gets down in your belly.
Belly.
I don't know.
Right, this is it going in.
Oh.
Wow!
Nice,
and it's overpouring. We've got liquid nitrogen smoke going everywhere.
Now, Shat, it's not pink or blue, so I don't know how used to this you're going to be.
Nice.
Kind of debauchery are we getting into tonight?
Fun debauchery.
Hey, it's experimentation, which is all what radio's about.
I wonder what your baby thinks about this, Sean Paxton. Oh, there it is. Now I see the ice crystals. I'm looking at them. They're melting as we speak. It's going quick.
Get it,
Shat's got them. He's throwing them in. And what do you think, Shat? Is it burning? It's cold? He said it's really cold.
Did you see that plume of smoke come out of his mouth?
Cold. Every time he says cold, this big, like JP said, a plume of smoke comes out. And can you taste the vodka? It's like melting?
Oh, that's wild.
Is your tongue burning off, Shat?
Oh, did you do something, Doc?
Oh, yeah.
This should be
a whole new way to put alcohol.
I should have stopped the show 20 minutes ago. This should be the after show.
Chad, get on the mic here. I want to know what.
Yeah, we never have fun at the after show.
Wow. What did it taste like?
Vodka, really cold. I could not feel my tongue.
That's sort of
ice cold.
Sort of
it was
uneventful.
It was like vodka
bumpy.
at the North Pole.
Oh, you burnt
tongue
your
is
tongue.
Like bumpy.
That means you burnt it.
It was like vodka at the North Pole.
Wow. It's weird that it comes out in like little pebbles. It's not a big chunk like the ice cream you're putting in there.
Well, also, like, depending on the size, diameter of your container and stuff, that will change, because how I'm pouring it in, I mean, it's dropping quite a ways before it actually hits it.
Can we freeze?
Actually, if you put it in the ladle and you put it down in there, would it freeze solid?
I could do it. Actually, I could try it, but it would have to be the right or the right level of the liquid.
I don't know where that is.
Well, you can't really see that, that's the only problem.
Bring it down there and find out.
Can we freeze shit and break it?
Yeah, bring it on.
Like fingers and stuff?
No, like
bananas and things.
Yeah, exactly. Like
actually, if you take like
stuff, I don't
like
know.
Herbs, like you take a basil leaf and you put it in there for about 25 seconds, and you take it out and you drop it on the counter, it breaks and it shatters.
I can't feel my tongue anymore. I don't know if it's the alcohol.
What do we got to break? Let's break stuff.
All right, everybody, we're out of here. Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Father's Day Rochefort Show with Sean Paxton. I'm going to do a couple pebbles of vodka here.
Yeah, here we go.
That's disgusting.
Can't feel the roof of my mouth.
And I did just burn my tongue as well.
Yeah, so did I.
Ouch.
Sissies.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. I hope that you had a happy Father's Day. If you're not a father, like myself and JP and producer Shat.
And everybody else in the room.
Thank God, by the way.
Then, just have yourself a nice evening, and thanks for joining us. You can go to homebrewchef.com to check out all of Sean Paxton's website. You can go to homebrewchef.com/beer.html. Scroll down to the bottom where it says the Brewing Network, and you'll get the presentation that we did tonight.
If you don't understand anything, it's chat@thebrewingnetwork.com.
It's CHAD at thebrewingnetwork.com.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
There's Shat saying Happy Father's Day to his dad. That's very nice
Such
of
a
you.
nice son.
You guys want some ice cream?
And we're
yes, I do.
We're going to go make some ice cream. Don't forget, there's no show next week because we're at the NHC, but I will be doing blog postings just like I did when I went to the Craft Brewers Conference. That's the only reason the blog exists, is for when we travel. Ooh. So I will give you some pictures and some descriptions of what's happening. JP will be there.
Can I do one?
Doc will be there. I'd love it if you did one.
I'd
Absolutely.
love to do one.
I'll give you an account. You can do as many as you want.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Since we don't have a lunch meat voicemail
I'll give you your own login. You can do all the updates you want.
Give me a log, dude.
Kenny Logan.
Doc's going to be there. Jamil's going to be there. And a whole bunch of the BN Army is going to be there.
I'll be shuffling around.
Come see us if you're, looking for us and you want to say hello. We want to hang out and have a beer with you if you're going to the NHC. So don't be shy. Even though we look like a bunch of retards, we're nice people.
We're still retards.
I won't wear your skin, I promise.
We'd really love to say hi to you, shake your hand, because you guys are the ones who make all this happen. So come and say hello to us. Don't forget that books, podcasts, and also BN Army shirts will be on pre-sale tonight, as well as the Jamil book, the Jamil Palmer new book, Brewing Classic Styles. That's on pre-sale in the Brewing Network store. Just click on the store. Every time you do that, it really helps us a lot. You can click on Brew Your Own Magazine right there on our website and buy yourself a magazine. Every time you do that, it helps us out quite a bit. And you can also click those ads on the site that rhyme with frugal. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out. All right, everybody. Want to thank you all for tuning in, hanging out, and just being the people that you are. Take care of each other, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks or on the Brewcaster blog. Thanks, everybody. Have yourselves a good weekend.